Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. I see that Kay is here. Hello, Kay. I know you said you'd be back, so we're happy. Well, we might even still be here. Who
Yeah.
knows? This conversation might go on for a while. We'll see. And hello, Kiana. Welcome,
Hey.
welcome, welcome. Paco was asking me about the iPhone 15, and I was telling him that I absolutely love the phone, but it's thicker than what I'm used to because
Mm-hmm.
my 12 Pro was a lot skinnier than this. So this
Mm-hmm.
phone, and it talk about because I got the natural titanium, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the titanium is so much lighter than I guess the regular 15. And when I hold these two phones, like my 12 and my 15, the 15 is definitely heavier. So I'm like, geez, if the 15 Pro is heavier, I can only imagine what the regular 15, like how much that weighs.
I went from the 13 plus
Mm-hmm.
to the regular 15 because I wanted pink.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't known if it feels the same, like white
Okay.
wise. So I haven't noticed a difference in it. My favorite thing, Loki, has been like this up here.
The little bar thing.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
like I get Ubers a lot and it'll tell you
Mm-hmm.
like you don't have to keep checking in. I like that. Like,
Yep.
oh,
When I use like Uber Eats, when I
yeah.
use Libby for my audiobooks, like I like that it's just parked right there. I love
Yeah,
that.
it makes it easier, and I'm like, I love that. Like,
Yeah.
I had to get an Uber off of work one day, and it was just like, I was like, how long is it? And I didn't even have to open the app. I could have just kept what I was doing.
I love that. Let's see who else has joined us. Hello, Jen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, Princess. Hello, Cool Gamer.
Oh,
Hello, Elises. And hello, Pat.
yellow
So,
face.
I guess we will begin. We'll start light, because people might trickle in as we're talking. That's totally fine. I don't expect people to be sitting here, waiting with bated breath. But I guess my first question to you guys is what did you rate the book? With no context, no explanation. What did you rate this book?
5 stars.
I also rated it 5 stars. But I know, like, Audrey's not here yet. But I know that Audrey had a lot of feelings about this book, and like I'm curious to know. I'm curious to hear like what she has to say about it. And I know some other people were like, I can't in good conscience like give this book 5 stars because of X, Y, and Z. So I'm very curious, just as like a general, what's the average rating here for this book? Because I gave it 5 stars, you gave it 5 stars.
See, I don't like when I'm not saying anybody in particular,
Hmm?
but when they say this character is so terrible, that's the point of the book. Like, this is a terrible, like, that's the feelings you're supposed to be feeling.
It's like if that's what you feel, then you probably should be giving this book 5 stars.
Then she did the job. She did the assignment. So I was like, that I don't like that. But I mean, each their own, but
Right.
they're wrong. They're wrong.
Right. They're wrong. Well, Princess gave it 4 stars. Okay, so we'll dig into that later because I'm curious to know why 4 and not 5. Hello. Hope everyone is well. Just stop by. Yep. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this case.
They haven't read it, so.
Huh?
They said they
yeah, she said that she was going to come back and read it. I mean, watch the video later. So very curious to know your thoughts once you do finally, get through everything. Jen also gave it 5 stars. Okay. What about everyone else? Don't be shy. Tell us your ratings. Don't hold back. Be brutal if you have to. Let us know. I'm very curious. Because I read this book and I was like, this is an obvious 5-star. But then to hear that other people didn't feel the same way, I'm like, oh, perhaps I am incorrect.
I know. I tell princesses a lot, especially about Babel. There's nothing that is for everybody. Mm-hmm. Not everything is for everyone, and sometimes people aren't meant for greatness.
I think that too, like, even if you didn't like the characters or the overall like plot or whatever, I think that the writing style of this book, the way, like, to me, June feels like such a real person.
She does, yeah.
It feels so real. And there are things that she says in this book that I'm like, oh my gosh, like you took that thought right out of my head. Like that's exactly how I feel. So it's interesting how R.F. Kuang was able to really bring to life this character. I absolutely am obsessed with just the way the book is written and how real it feels. Kiana also gave it 5 stars. Okay, so for the most part, it seems like people enjoyed this book. That's the general consensus. I'm curious to know if anybody at some point later on down the line will come in and be like, "Oh, I gave it 2 stars," because I want to know. I need the explanation. So my next question, now that we've gotten just the general ratings of No Context out of the way, what would you, or I guess my first question is, did you have a favorite character? And if you did, who was it?
There was no character that I loved. I liked Christine, I think her name was.
Christine.
The one at the end. She was the assistant.
Oh, Candace.
Candace. It started with a C. I did read this book a week ago in a day. Like it was a fever pitch.
Yeah, to be fair, I just finished this book yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind.
Yeah, so I liked her. But there was this book, I mean, there was no characters you're supposed to like. And I like that about it.
Mm-hmm.
Did I think June is a wild character in itself? In herself, she is a wild and crazy character. Yes, but also on site.
Yeah. Yes, I would agree with that. I don't think if there were any characters that I was particularly, fond of. I think that they were.
My laptop shook. I hit my laptop.
Happening? Hold on. Okay, there we go. My speakers were echoing, but I don't think there were any characters that I was particularly fond of. But I do think that there were characters, like I said earlier, that were just written really well, even though you didn't like them. And June obviously being one of them. Even Athena, I thought was.
I got a lot to say about Athena.
Yeah, Athena was an interesting character that I know, at least for me, in the beginning, you're like not rooting for her because she's already dead, but like you like feel for her and you're like you want justice for her, and then as you continue to read, it's like I don't know.
Athena was just as bad.
Right. I'm like, oh. And I like that the author does this. I love stories where they take the villain and kind of like show their side of the story, and it's like, oh, maybe the villain isn't as bad as we thought, or vice versa, where they take who we think is the hero or the one that's been done wrong, and they kind of like peel back the layers and show that they are also human and they've done a lot of shitty things as well. So I like that about this story. Princess did not have a favorite character. No, even the victim was a villain. Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really cool.
I guess maybe her mom.
Yeah, that I didn't even think about that. That's a good answer. I like that answer. I like that. And it's interesting that the way her mom handled everything, I thought was really, honestly, really graceful, like on her part. Because she could have gone in on June at some point. She could have sued for damages and like read her for filth on the internet, like dragged her name. She could have gone on like the Today Show or whatever and like really outed this girl. She just, remained composed, and I love that for her. So yeah, shout out to Athena's mom. I only like Athena's mom. Or the old man from the group. Oh yeah, what was his name? I forgot what his name is.
Yeah, like Mr. something.
Yeah, Mr. Lee or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like him. Oh, he was sweet. June was brilliantly written. Wouldn't have been sorry she was on fire. June ran. Mm-hmm. June really thought I know, she really did. And that was what was the most interesting to me. When I got to the end, and I was just like,
her thought, no, at the end, I was cackling. I'm like, you crazy bitch. Like, yes. I have a lot to say about June, too, as a character. And just like, it's so interesting, and I'm excited to get more into those discussions.
So on the flip side of that, who, if any character at all, would you say was your least favorite character?
I hated June, but June was so, like, someone described it best. It's reading from June's perspective, and the fact that it was a first person, I think, was genius as well. That she had this written as first person, so we were in June's head the entire time.
Yeah,
she was so crazy, and like that. It was like a watching a car accident. You couldn't look away, and you're like, terrible human being, but like, I can't not watch this. Like, it's so interesting. Like, it was wild. And like, I mean, her team deserves to get slapped. Her friend, those author bitches that she had the group chat with. I will say, if I was June and they started ignoring, I would have blew up the group chat. I would have had the receipts. I would have posted that, because if I'm going down, y'all going down with me.
I would say that my least favorite character probably. Oh, sorry. There's like a readathon chat going on, like because we're planning for a readathon. I was like, am I supposed to be posting something? What was I saying? Oh yeah, her team. You mentioned that, and that would be my answer. I think that Danielle, low key, is probably my least favorite character. I didn't like her from the beginning. Like and that's something that I want to talk about in a minute. But like when they first started talking about like making edits to the book, a lot of the edits that were made to that book were edits that were suggested by Danielle. Mm-hmm. And there, in my opinion, was a lot of whitewashing being done to the book. Mm-hmm. And that was all like Danielle's like masterminding behind all of that. And then at the end, towards the end, they bring Danielle up again and they say that what did she say? She said she didn't want to email Danielle because she had some kind of scandal or something going on where she made a comment about like Muslim authors.
Yeah, we already have one.
Yeah. I'm like, this girl has been problematic from the beginning. Y'all, just no one was saying anything about. Like, I peeped it in the beginning.
I think Danielle was supposed to represent the publishing industry's racism, and it is very like I'm waiting until we get more into these characters, like specifically to bring up my thoughts on it.
But yeah, that was my least favorite character because I'm like, this girl is like behind the scenes manipulating stuff, and no one's calling her out for what she's doing. So at the end, when they said that she was like in a little bit of a scandal, I'm like, as she should be, because she's been problematic from the beginning. Least favorite character, the agent, I think his name was Brent or something like that. Yep, this is true. He was an enabler. Probably think if we heard Athena's side, I would think she's a villain.
Athena, yeah. Athena was clearly like I said, I'm waiting till we talk more about Athena about it, but I have a lot to say. There are so many discussions I can't wait to have that I'm like,
yeah, that part. Sorry, I had to get my dinner. Rated at 4 stars. Okay, it's still so fresh in my head, and it's hilarious.
It is. There were some parts where I was like, like parts I shouldn't have been laughing at. The like one scene where I don't know why it made me cackle at like 10 o'clock at night after I got off of work and I'm eating dinner and the house is super quiet, but all you hear is me cackling. And it was just the fact that it was so wild. It was when Athena was getting in trouble for dating white guys or whatever. And she got that DM that said, "Go suck white blank." 10 o'clock at night, everybody else is asleep, and you just hear me cackling that it's like so like it's the way it was written. I started cackling.
I remember listening to that part because I was walking to work when I was listening to that, and my jaw just was like, I was like walking down the street like,
what the fuck? Just say that to someone is wild.
Crazy. Danielle was money motivated. Yes, I actually placed more blame on June. Okay, fair enough.
I think Danielle enabled June to be worse.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think that June was trying to include the historical context, and Danielle's like, no, take this out. We don't need this. The reader doesn't care about this. And I'm like, man.
I think Danielle kind of was a devil on June's shoulder. Not that June is everything June did. Mm-hmm. She did herself. She is like, it was all her. Mm-hmm. But Danielle was kind of like enabling it and allowed it to get worse.
Yeah, I think that she added on to, because there were areas where like June was gonna do not so much the right thing, but the book was the way that it was, and then Danielle went in and started removing even more stuff from it that really needed to be there. And and we'll get into this in a second, but one of the things that I thought was really interesting was that they kept talking about like the audience and the reader, and I just felt like that manuscript and who that manuscript was meant for versus like who June's team kept referring to as the audience were two different groups.
But they were not on the same page. Even though, who is to say that Athena wouldn't have made the same changes?
Right, that's true. Didn't like Danielle either. Hey, Kelsey.
Hey.
Rated it 4 stars. Okay. We'll circle back around to that because I'm curious to know why it wasn't 5. We'll circle back around to that. She didn't try hard enough to keep the integrity of the book. Yes, that's true.
For her, it wasn't it was her to write the book. Like she wasn't writing this book to be, this is for the history. Like that wasn't her process for writing it. So to me, it was like she was doing whatever Danielle said because she was like, I just want this book I just want the fame.
Yep, that's true. Very true. All right, let's see. What's the next question that I have on my list? Excuse me. Were there any characters that you felt like you could relate to?
Thinking, because I don't want to say related to. There are certain mindsets that I agree with, but only as a spectator.
Okay.
The only time I'm ever going to say I agreed with June was her opinions on the performative outrage of Twitter and the performative outrage of it. Mm-hmm. I thought was like right on. Like I agreed with that completely. The like not mob. I don't think it's a mob mentality, but I do think that like it is performative.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I think cool that
being angry at something more than like there's more people that are angry to be angry than the people that actually care, and it shows on how quick these fires will go out.
That's 100% true. I think we all have like witnessed that in some way or another, even if it's not related to the book community. I think we've all seen that for ourselves, so that is definitely very true. I think that if there was a character that I could relate to, it probably would be June. But I don't relate to her overall as a character, but there were certain things that she thought or said that I'm like, ooh, I was actually kind of thinking that. Especially when she describes certain things. Like, okay, for example, there's a part in, I forget what chapter it is, but it's when she goes to that restaurant that she gets like kicked out of because the girl's like, get out of here, like, who are, like, I know who you are, blah blah blah, whatever. But she goes to that restaurant. Before she gets there, she describes like getting off the train and like going to like Chinatown in DC and all that kind of stuff. And the way that she describes Chinatown is hilarious because I used to work a couple of blocks away from that area, so I'm very familiar with what she was describing. And like there's a part where she talks about I don't know exactly how she words it, but it's basically like, you know, it's kind of like a sketchy area. And like, you know, you kind of just, it's one of those like clutch your purse kind of areas, kind of, you know, kind of thing. And I thought that was so interesting that she said that because I've walked around Chinatown and like low key, I'm not gonna say she was right, but I'm also not gonna say she was wrong. Like that area is, you know, you gotta make sure you keep your head on the swivel. So it was just funny, like listening to someone describe this area and say out loud things that I've thought in my head. So for that reason, there are a couple of moments where she does things like that throughout the book where I'm just like, ooh, okay, okay, I feel that. I see where you're coming from. I'm not going to say that out loud, but if you say that out loud, I feel like you speak for us both. That's fine. Let me see. Where did we leave off at? Did we see this one? Oh, no, yeah, we saw that one. Kelsey. Kiana said true. Yeah, but June, like in real life publishing, might not have too much of a fighting voice. I feel like that was purposefully done. Okay, maybe so. Maybe so. That's a good point. I don't even know why I keep going back and forth that it just wasn't quite 5. Really more of a 4.5, but I don't do half stars. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Let's see. What would you say was the most surprising moment in the book?
Fuck, that's tough.
I know.
I mean, her going back and using her little like paragraph, stealing from her again, I thought was just like, why would you do that again? I don't know. There was nothing part that I was like shocked by. Besides, like, the stuff she said. Like, she bullied that little girl.
Yeah.
Was, like... It wasn't more of, like, I didn't see this coming, but, like, how could you do that? like, to me, it's the part about that made June so terrible is that since we were in her head, we saw her almost make the right turn. But then she decided to just go further.
She just chose violence.
She had so many like exits she could have taken, but she kept like, you know, like taking the student part. She was like, I could just like continue to teach these kids and stuff, and we could have a good time. No, I'm gonna bully this little girl.
Agreed. I think the most shocking part to me was probably it wasn't like a crazy scene or anything, but it was, I forget who she was talking to, and I know that Rally talked about this in the Discord, but she might have been talking to like Brett or somebody, and she was saying like it's hard to write because, you know, when I'm writing about something I have to be like really passionate and really care about the topic. But then like on multiple occasions before and after she made that comment, she openly said that like she didn't really care about the stuff that she was writing about in the last front, and she was really just doing it to see if she could, you know, write this story, and it was like more like a test or a challenge for herself, not because she cared at all about the information that she was learning or writing about. And I think there was a part where she says she like wasn't doing any more like, what is it called when you like go to different places? Like she was going to like schools and churches or whatever and like talking about the book and stuff. And she was saying like she doesn't do that anymore unless they're paying a certain amount, because I forget what she said the reason was, but I'm just like, if you actually cared about what you were writing about, you would want to go to these places and educate people on this story that a lot of people don't know. So by you saying that you're not going to go because they're not paying you enough, or because it's not, I think she said it either has to pay a certain amount or it had to be like some like real elite people or whatever. And I'm just like, you should want to go to schools and the YMCA or whatever and like teach kids and college students, whatever, about this so that more people know. Like somebody who really cares about this topic would do that. And the fact that she did it and like was very open about the fact that she like wasn't going to do that, I'm just like, you are directly contradicting yourself. You cannot say that you can only write about things you're passionate about and then openly talk about how much you don't care about the whole topic that your last book was on, that even brought you to the level of fame that you're at. Like, this is crazy. Also, at the end, when she falls down the steps, hilarious. Did not see that coming.
Oh, you know, I will say, I will change my answer. The biggest surprise to me is the end when she's like, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to do the tell-all. They're going to eat it up. And I was like, they are going to eat it up. I do see what she said happening. But it was like, I was in my mind, I'm like, you crazy. Like I said, I was legit. 4 a.m. like, you crazy bitch. Like,
yep. She's insane. She's absolutely insane, actually. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Hello, Courtney. Welcome. Let's see. When she decides to write a sort of tell-all. Yeah. Yes. Agreed. My thoughts exactly. I was just like, oh, this girl is crazy. Like, she's really like, she needs help. Didn't expect the beginning to happen so quickly. Yeah, that is true. I wasn't expecting a thing that
because all of that was like in the synopsis. Mm-hmm. I'm not surprised that it like was the first. It was like an inciting incident.
Okay, yeah. See, I don't read the synopsis before I go into books, so I had no idea. So I was also shocked at like how quickly things escalated, and just the fact that she choked on a pancake. I was just like, wait, what? I was like, is she really dead? Is this like a dream? And then when she was like really dead, I was like, oh wow, she's like she really just died eating a pancake. Like, what a way to go out. What a way to go out. Was shocked how quickly I got into it. Expected Athena to die later on rather than 30 pages in. Yeah, I was surprised, honestly, myself. So I agree with you there, Kelsey. The ending, the final reveal was the most surprising. I expected anything and everything from June pretty quickly. Okay. Were you guys surprised that it was Candace? Because I was not. I knew that it was Candace. I didn't know she was going to fall down the stairs like that, but I knew that it was going to be Candace.
I wasn't surprised when it was her. Like, oh, that makes sense. But I wasn't like, I wasn't like, oh, this is Candace or whatever. But when it was reveal happened, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
I knew that it was Candace because before that new Instagram like came up and was like haunting her or whatever, before that happened, she had a meeting with her team. It was like a Zoom call or something. And June says something like, where's Candace? And I literally wrote a note in my book that was like, bitch, didn't you get Candace fired? Why are you looking for her? And so the fact that she like brought her name back up for no reason, I was just like, okay, so Candace is probably going to come back at some point. So then when the Instagram account came up, I thought that it was probably the mom that was behind it. But then when she went to go meet Jeff, her and Jeff were talking about it. And they said, oh, yeah, I don't think it would be the mom. So I'm like, okay, then it's probably Candace. I was like, this bee choking on a chicken bone. No way, I'm more surprised by the scene with the old man. She actually felt shame. Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's probably the only time she really felt a genuine emotion that wasn't selfish. That is very true. But that is so true to June. Hi, Sky. The whole name change. And yes, ethnically ambiguous author pictures made me think.
I wouldn't say S.A. Chakraborty, and I wouldn't compare the two because there's different reasons to that. I think, in my opinion, but that's a different discussion.
But I do think that was pretty surprising to me that they changed her name.
Yeah,
and that was also Danielle's doing, was it not?
No, that was. I don't think that was Danielle specifically. That was like someone on the team, which is why I was like team. But like, I think this is different because she did marry, like, for S.A. Chakraborty, also a real person, and did marry someone. So it's not like she changed her name to her middle name, like. And anytime anything I've ever seen, S.A. Chakraborty said she is not, is like, and it's just not the same. But and June was clearly like a psycho bitch with it, like that was done intentionally.
Yeah, and I wonder what they would have done with that whole thing if her middle name wasn't Song. Would they have just given her a random last name to like try to pass her off, or like what, or would they have left it as Hayward? Like, what would they have done? They got lucky that her middle name was Song. Like, what are the odds?
And Chakraborty also fully converted to Muslim before she even met her husband.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
So, like, that's why I'm like, I wouldn't compare these two. Also, because one's a real person and one's not. Like,
Kiana said I knew it was Candace. Same. I figured it was Candace too. I wasn't shocked. Yeah, when it was Candace, I was like, oh yeah, that exactly. As it should be, because she got that girl fired. I was so mad when she got that girl fired. That was like the first thing that happened that like I was like really heated about. I was annoyed by her. Like she was doing some really like messed up stuff or whatever. When she got that girl fired, I was
when she's like, I hope I got that bitch fired.
Yes. I was like, are you serious
right now?
Trying
to help you out by like, let's get some sensitivity readers in here. Because like that's just gonna help you.
Everything that she did was like trying to be helpful, trying to be like conscious of like how this might come across and how this might affect others, especially people that are part of that group that you are writing about. I just thought that was so crazy that she got.
She was petty, but I agree. I would have probably done the same thing with the 1-star review. That was petty, but like it's not like fire.
I think it's funny.
Yeah, no, it was funny and petty. I like for petty.
I love that. I was like, petty. Yes, get your vengeance where you can get it, Candace.
But girl, if you're gonna do a 1-star, do a burner account so they can't try to get
it back to you.
Don't be doing your full name out there. Like
she probably wanted her to know, like, yeah I did it. Low key, I thought her guilt was causing a mental breakdown.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I think that played part into it.
It was. It absolutely was. Especially towards the end, where she was like, not hallucinating, but like seeing. Well, yeah, she was actually hallucinating, because she was seeing what she thought was Athena. So yeah, she definitely had a whole breakdown at the end where she's like, Athena, where are you? I just want to apologize. I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, please, someone come get her. Someone call someone. We need help. I thought it was her, but I convinced myself I was wrong. I really wanted to just go along the ride with this one. I was just having too much fun with it.
I was more just like enjoying it. Like I'm not even thinking of further what's going to happen next.
I didn't know that like the whole thing was going to happen where she had like the speakers and the cameras set up. Like I wasn't expecting all of that.
Misproduction. Like
yeah, I wasn't expecting her to like go all out. Like she really went there. I was like, okay.
My favorite part is like, in that whole situation, she's like, you chose this spot because it's to me. It's special to me. These stairs are like where I felt like it was significant to me. She's like, bitch, no.
She started laughing at her. She was like, you thought this was about you?
You like, girl.
Like reality check. Not at all. She got a taste of fame and then got thirsty. Oh yeah. She was thirsty before she got the taste of fame. She was desperate and then she became thirsty. Did anyone think about how June never considered that Athena may have discussed the new book with anyone? Very good point.
She discussed that in the beginning, that Athena herself like was so private with her book that like she specifically said that Athena like was superstitious on sharing any notes. Like when she wrote it down and like in hand or typewritten it or whatever, she wouldn't even share it with her editors or anybody like that. So I think that's why that she was like, I could do this.
But I think it was interesting because like it later came up that like Jeff knew a little bit about the project.
Yeah,
like he
because
knew
he
about,
saw
like,
her working on it.
It's not like so it's like him. I'm surprised that June didn't take that into consideration. There could have been other people, maybe not that like read her manuscript necessarily, but that knew that she was working on this project or was doing research for this or whatever, that she just thought she could get away with it and no one would like say anything. Nobody would be the wiser. So yeah, thought that was interesting. So that's a good point.
She clearly wasn't the smartest tool in the shed. Like,
very true. That 1-star had me rolling.
I loved it. I was like, you petty bitch.
Yep. I wish that you could like double tap or whatever. I would be like, What did you think of her catching Athena's? So I thought that was. I wasn't expecting it to be him. I honestly didn't see that coming. That was.
We didn't know about him until like right before, like when the reveal happened.
Right. I was like, oh.
I was like, oh, okay.
I'm like, okay, new character unlocked.
I do like her thought process. You're like, should I sleep with him?
And then she made it seem like her only reasoning for not sleeping with him was because that would somehow like just give Athena like more like glory or whatever.
Yeah.
I was just like, girl, there's way more reasons why you shouldn't sleep with him besides just that, okay? Exactly. Yes. So let's dig into the beginning of how her decision to start writing this book. What are you guys' thoughts on her deciding to finish writing or whatever, enhancing, adding in, whatever you want to call it, The Last Front? What are your thoughts on
that? Like, I have no words for that because like it's so wild to do. This is where we're going to give credit, the whole credit to our Kuang. Like, she did the thing. I think she did a great job of showing how desperate June was, and that like what the publishing industry, like the loneliness and whatever of it, that kind of led her to do this. I'm not like condoning it clearly, but just like she showed perfectly that mindset on how she could be in that mindset to do that. There was at no point where I was like, this is unbelievable.
And I thought it was interesting how it started versus like how it ended, because like it started off with her not even necessarily doing it with like malicious intent. It was more of just like, this is a like a writing exercise. Like, let me just see if I could finish this. And then from there, her jump from this is a writing exercise, this is just to get, my creative juices flowing kind of thing, to being like, I need to turn something into my editor. So here you go.
To it being like, she was originally going to be like, this is a book that Athena was writing that I like took or whatever to like finish for her. And then she's like, well, I don't need to put Athena's name on it. I'll just say like she helped inspire it. And just her like rabbit hole of craziness.
Selfish, delusional, entitled. Yep, 100%. 100%. Bold.
And the fact that there was no scene where it was like, I take the manuscript. It was very much, I remember exactly, it was like, and when I went home the night, the manuscript was in my bag.
Like no accountability of like what you did, the actions that you took. Very much making it seem like, oh, these things just happen and I don't have anything to do with it. It's not my fault. I thought that was interesting. Now, what do you think about how... Huh?
I said moving my fan because it's hot up here.
What do you think about how she wrote the book? Like in terms of like the work that she did put into it or the research that she did have to do to be able to finish the book. What are your thoughts on that?
Yep. Delusional 10, accountability 0. I think whoop-de-doo, you did the research. I feel like she wanted a pat on the back for doing the research for it. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, like, I did the research. I blah, blah, blah. Like, bitch. And? Like, whoop-de-doo?
How much of this book do you think was hers versus how much was Athena's original work? Because and this goes back to what we were saying earlier about how the fact that this book is written from first person, so we're only getting June's perspective. And from reading from her perspective, I got the impression that it was like maybe like 70-30, where like 70% of that final project was June's original, not original work, but like, yeah, like her original work that was inspired by Athena.
But it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for
Athena. Oh, no, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Like 70-30, but like it'd be 0 if it wasn't for Athena.
Right. Agreed.
I mean, it is the Theseus ship thing, which is a thing in philosophy. I only know this because it was on WandaVision. But it is, I think it's the Argo. I think it's the name of it. But it's basically there's this ship, ancient Greek ship, that they start like replacing the wood because it gets so old. And the question is, at what point is that ship not the same ship? Because they replaced everything. So it's kind of like that of it. But like, I don't know. But to the point of like, this book would exist if Athena lived, the book would still exist. Mm-hmm. But if Athena didn't write the book, it wouldn't exist. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't know. There's like, no matter how much work she did, she wouldn't have had the book if it wasn't for Athena.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. But like when she was talking about like how people were receiving, like after reading it, how they were receiving it, like not the consumers, but like her editors and publishers and stuff like that. Like everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, this book is so good! Like we gotta put it out there. We gotta let everybody know about this, whatever." I wonder. I guess I was just confused as to why this book was so much different and received such a different reaction compared to books that she has submitted in the past. Because she made it seem like the books that she submitted in the past, people were kind of just like, I don't really have time for this. Oh, this isn't all that great, whatever. But then she submits this book that is written by the same author, obviously, same writing style, whatever like that, just inspired by, someone else's work. So it's like, what was the difference?
Because we were in her head, we never saw her book, her first book that she wrote. We never got the point of like, she was in her head. The only reason her book failed is because no one wanted a white woman's story. That was her head fully what happened. We don't know how trash that first book was. So we really don't know what her writing is, like what level her writing is, because so I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely a question that I've thought about a lot. Is like, why did this book garner so much more attention than the books that she's put out in the past? Like, is it just that her writing skills have gotten better between her first book and now? Or was it just that the content of this book was more interesting to the publishing industry at that time? Or, like what was it that made this book pop off, even though it's written by the same person that wrote the last book that tanked? And I just thought that was interesting. Like, I'm like, how much of this was Athena's doing that like really got her to where she is versus like this being her work, and maybe people just didn't care about what she was writing before, not because it was written by a white woman, just because whatever the topic was just was something that nobody cared about.
And I only said that because like, that's her thought process.
Yeah, everything she did was wild. It just keeps getting wilder. Yep, I give her credit. She put in the work. Yeah, after her theft, yes. I agree. I think that she did put in a lot of hard work, not just with the research, but just the writing of it itself. I thought that she did do a lot of hard work, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she should have taken the credit away from the original author and the original person that created the idea and started, doing the research initially. I mean, if you're not the originator, you still, yeah, exactly. We can't be sure how much she really put in. She's too unreliable as a narrator. Yep.
And like even then, like when it was said, the parts of the book that people didn't like or they found cheesy, like the white woman meme or whatever that came, were like the parts that it seemed people didn't like were her parts.
Yeah, that is true.
The scenes she added.
That's true. That's very true. Copyright does allow for a percentage of it to be different, to be considered. Oh, okay. Do you know what the percentage is by chance? I'm just curious. I want Athena's book, not that whitewashed mess June wrote. Agreed. It will be interesting. Imagine if you could get a side by side of June's book and Athena's book, have them run at the same time, get the exact same promo. I wonder which book would have higher ratings on Goodreads. She probably got more attention as a white woman writing another culture story. That's probably true. And even going with that, they talk about at the end, I think it was Candace was saying at the end how are you okay?
Yes, something dropped. So
Candace was saying at the end how Athena was like the token, like they wouldn't let her write any stories other than the kind of stuff that she was already writing, and so she just kind of rode that wave and milked it for what she could get out of it.
When we get, if we're getting into the Athena discussion, how like Athena wasn't any better than June. Athena was stealing people's stories left and right, and also stealing stories from like different Asian American cultures and stuff like that. It was an interesting discussion on the using a cultural pain for profit. I think is like when we get into Athena and stuff like that. So yeah, go into that.
Yeah. Also, there are crickets in my house, so if you guys can hear the crickets, I can't do anything about them. This happens every fall. So to me, I don't hear it, but other people hear it. So just to let you know that it's not a sound effect. They are actual crickets in my house. That was such a great area. I agree with Jen, though. June is an unreliable narrator, and we don't really know if her changes were better. And that's why I point out the fact that like we're getting this story from her perspective. But so it's like we don't really have anything else to go off of besides what June says. But yes, acknowledging that she could be extremely biased. Yeah. Also, June is just an editor. Maybe she can't write for real. That's a good point. That's a good point. That's funny. I was thinking the same thing, Sarah. I bet she can't write.
Because even her other book, The Near Witch, or Mother Witch, or whatever, that was like her novella that was inspired by like Athena just did the opening paragraph. That one didn't get as much credit. Like they were like, it was all right, but it wasn't, like they said, even then, like it wasn't as big as the front.
Yeah. Also, I don't think anybody said this earlier, but when we were talking about like surprising moments, I know that you said that you were surprised that she decided to like steal another story or like more inspiration from Athena. I was more surprised that she was like, oh, like after the whole scandal blew up with the whole last front and her, cultural appropriation, all that stuff going on, she then proceeded to write more stories. Like even when she was like brainstorming ideas of like what she should write about, all of her ideas, all of her brainstorming ideas were all still related to like the Asian culture. I'm like, what is wrong with this girl? Why is she obsessed with writing about someone else's culture? Like, what is her problem? Is she okay? Have to look it up. Haven't read up on copyright in a long time. I was just curious. If you don't know, don't feel like you have to look it up. It doesn't really matter. I was just curious. Yes. I was surprised at the stealing of the second book. Yeah. I was like, girl, we just went through this. Why do it again?
My favorite opener is the Final Friend's not the book that got me in trouble.
She was like, I wrote most of this, so it's crazy that this one is the one that I got in trouble for. I'm just like,
this one. Everybody was like, this one.
Girl. Hey, Riley. Didn't I get my notice? It's all good. Welcome. Her mama knew she couldn't write.
Her mama was trying to help her.
Her mom was like, yeah, but like I know how hard it is to make it in this business, and I just didn't want you to get your feelings hurt. That's her mom way of saying, you suck as a writer, and I was trying to give you a soft landing place. When she started thinking about stealing students' work, I don't even remember that. Did that happen? I don't even remember.
It was like a quick sentence.
Oh, okay. I did not even notice that. That girl, she has zero integrity. Oh my gosh. This wild book. Yes. Now got my notes on the book. Yes, I saw your thoughts. You had some interesting thoughts though in the Discord. I love reading Riley's thoughts on books because they're very deep and all that. I really like it. So we talked about her stealing the book, her deciding to write this story in the first place and pass it off as her own. So now getting into like the editing and the publicity part of the book, like her team taking it on and like them, excuse me, like putting like, you know, different signs up at train stations and posting about it and like all this like promo and stuff that she was getting. she has a line in the book where she says something like, books only become popular because someone, for no reason at all, just decides that this is going to be the book of the moment. Do you guys feel like that is true? Do you believe that there's any truth to that at all? Or do you feel like that's just her being bitter?
No, I agree. So I'm like trying to like spray to get some coolness on me and go, oh my. I agree with the like, it seems like the books that are going to be popping off is kind of at random. Like we never know what's going to be the next big thing. It could be anything, but I agree on that extent of it. And it's like these, you do get the bookish box companies, you do get like these lists and how you pay, like whoever gets to pay more of the advertising. That's kind of how it works. That's how just advertising works in general. So on that part.
So what do you think was the reason why they decided to put so much into this book? Was it because diversity is trendy now, or is it because they thought, because at first I was hoping anyway that their reasoning behind it was like, this is a story that needs to be told, like this is important or whatever like that. But in listening to people like Danielle and even Brett, there was something that Brett said when he was talking about one of her books, I forget which one it was, but one of them was kind of getting like a resurgence of sales because some people, I guess in the political world, like some left to the right,
because they were saying when the controversy was going off, you got some like right-wing people that were like defending her, and so the sale go up,
and like that made the sales go up, right? So it doesn't seem like her team, her editor, her agent, her publicist, it doesn't seem like any of them care at all about the contents of the book.
I mean,
what made them decide to push it so hard?
I mean, I do think that like to capitalism, diversity is trending because people are wanting more, and they hear us saying we need more diverse books, we need more diversity, and their mindset diversity is trending. You got those people that will like the minute they cast a black person for something, they say you're trying to make a movie woke and shit, or you got the like that. So I do agree that for like some of them, that's probably what they thought. Like this is our Asian book of the month kind of mentality of it. And I think, I mean, yeah, it was a good book. Apparently, I mean, we can't say why they did it because we haven't read the book.
Right. I'm just curious to know, like, as people were reading, like, what were they thinking? What were their thoughts? Where did, you know, and some people might even know more about the industry than I do. So like this could be a moment for education for people, like, hey, this is how it really works or whatever like that. So I was just curious to know what people's thoughts were as to whether or not they were believing June, or if they know like, oh no, that girl's like full of shit. Like
no, I do think June was right to an extent. Like, yes, I feel like there are outside factors that, like, look, exactly, the Fourth Wing, look at that. Fourth Wing would not be as popular if it was not advertised the way it was advertised.
Oh yeah, Fourth Wing took off. And whoever did this is a genius. The fact that it came out with the sprayed edges, and then once they were like, oh, we're not printing anymore like this, everyone ran to the store to go get
it was that
copies.
And TikTok.
Yeah, well, yeah, always
it took the like the tick. It was just a combination of it. That like, yeah, it's marketing plays a big part into it.
Jen, sorry.
I feel it. I didn't notice it until you said it either.
Well, to be fair, they weren't going off earlier. I don't know when they started, but I know that when we first started this live, they weren't making any noise. Somewhere along the way, they started making noise. And like I said, normally I don't hear it. I'm like immune to it, but I did like pick up on it. And I'm like, let me say something before somebody's like, what is that noise? I'm sorry. I disagree. Books that are popular are usually related to what is going on in society, are imitating life. The books that sell are ones that will hit hard on what people are thinking and feeling. Okay.
See, but I also feel like that is agreeing with what I'm saying, is like, because capitalism is evil. I feel like we could all agree on that. And the main goal of capitalism is to make money. And so they think they know what people want, and that's why it happens like that.
That's true. There's always a reason people are trying to market something to the public. They do not do it for no reason. They want to make money and stay up to date. Yes. I feel they push it so hard because the voices need to be heard. That is an important reason. Society has tried to bury real history, so publishers get excited to voice this now.
See, I disagree on that. I feel like it's all about the money.
Oh yeah,
I
of
think
course.
you have maybe a couple of good publishers that are doing it, but if we're talking about like publishing in general, it's all about the money. It's not, they don't care.
I think that's kind of what she's saying though. I think y'all are like saying the same thing. She's saying like they're excited to voice this now because they know it's what people are gonna like run to, and it's gonna make them, like you said, money. Because they know that it's trendy, for lack of better words. They're like, oh, we got a diverse book. Oh, let's put this out because this is going to make us some money. You got LGBTQ on it. You got, BIPOC author on it. Oh, yeah, this is going to make us money because that's what's hot right now. Even though it should have always been hot. But for whatever reason, it's hot right now. Let me see. The comments are jumping. I do not think some of that is true. Okay.
I do think some of that is true.
Okay. This is why it was weird to have June be the voice author behind the book, but then she was offering what seemed to be the real history through research. So yeah, hence the annoyance of the group visit. IPB was around for such a long time. IPB got picked up by a traditional pub house when it blew up on TikTok. Yeah, TikTok literally makes anything popular. I was just watching a video earlier today about I don't know if you guys know, his name is, I don't know, Kevin Lee or something like that. Keith Lee, something like that. I'd never heard of him before until this morning, but apparently he's a very popular TikToker that like reviews restaurants and stuff. And there was this food truck in Las Vegas that was struggling. There was also a pizza shop in Las Vegas that was like struggling and like wasn't getting a lot of customers. And he did a review. And then like the next day, like the guy that has the food truck, the next day, like within 24 hours of this boy doing his little TikTok review, that food truck got $30,000 in donations. Not in sales, just pure donations. $30,000 in 24 hours. TikTok is amazing when it comes to stuff like that. Like somebody needs to like regulate this. This is crazy.
Yeah, IBB. My mind is blanking on what IBB is.
Oh, I think it might be Ice Planet Barbarians.
Oh yeah. No. There's a lot of like we're hearing a lot more like indie books that are getting traditionally public. Like you have Ice Planet Barbarians. You have Olivia Blake. You have what else? There's others like even the coffee one. My mind is blanking on it.
Oh, Before the Coffee Gets Cold?
No. It's not coffee in the title.
Barbarian. Lattes?
Witches and Lattes? No.
No,
it's
Legends
like
and
cozy
Latte.
fantasy. The cozy fantasy. That's
Legends and Latte.
Legends and Lattes, yeah. My mind. Like these books got popular on TikTok, and that's now why they're getting traditionally public.
And it's interesting. I would want to get into the science behind that. Like, how does something pop off on TikTok? Because not everything pops off on TikTok, right? There are some things that take off and some things that don't. So it's like, how do certain things pop off and not others? I want to know the science behind that. I agree, Paco, both reasons.
Okay, yeah.
Coho has now found her pockets full because that's a perfect example. TikTok did it for her, for real.
And I think Coho was always had her like fans because she was big on YouTube for a while, like BookTube. And then just like Sarah J. Maas, like Coho and Sarah J. Maas are like equivalents to each other at this point because they got the same kind of fans. That like they had a big BookTube, they were big on BookTube, and then when they started to like diminish on BookTube, TikTok started and they got big on TikTok.
I feel like TikTok put it in front of a new audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had the pandemic and people were home, and so they started reading more, and then Yeah.
TikTok has their own table. Yeah, they do. They have their own table at a lot of stores. They have their own section at Target. They have their own section at Ulta. Like there are a lot of stores. They have their own table at Barnes & Noble,
but they don't have a table for Latin Heritage Month. Which is bullshit.
Yep. I'm surprised they don't, honestly.
Yeah, like I saw a TikToker where she went in Houston. Of all cities, Houston. Barnes & Noble, and they said they did not have a Hispanic Heritage Month table.
That's so strange. I wonder if they had one for Asian Pacific Islander. I wonder if they had a table for that. Because I know they always have a Black History one, so it's weird that like Hispanic Heritage Month didn't get a table. And like you said, in Houston of all places, that's bizarre. Someone should put them on blast. That needs to be on Twitter. Needs to be on Twitter. Needs to be on TikTok because that's strange. But yeah, there are a lot of stores that have their own like TikTok sections, and it's amazing, honestly. Just watching like how TikTok has evolved. The pandemic did wonders for TikTok. if anything or one benefited from the pandemic, it is TikTok. Because if you go back to when TikTok was Musical.ly, people did not take Musical.ly serious at all. The musers were usually like little kids, teenagers, and then the pandemic hit. They changed it into TikTok, and suddenly all these 30, 40-year-old people are on here like doing little
nothing else to,
videos.
we had nothing else to do.
Happening?
And like the fact that like they were using it to troll the government.
Yeah. Like, it's amazing how TikTok has like really changed like the advertising media space. It's amazing, for real. To be honest, I think it's honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. Low-key. Right, but the question statement made was, do books do well because they are chosen to be great? Right now, TikTok is doing that. Yeah, yep. TikTok is deciding what books are great, and that's crazy. That's really crazy. Whether it be people reading because they want to like the book, or people are reading it to hate. Yeah, to hate reading on TikTok. That's true. They are always adding to the trend. That
yeah, like they had this one guy on TikTok. He was an author, and he's like, I'm gonna read a book written by a woman a day, like as if it's like lesser media, then till my book gets popular. And then people on TikTok started reading his book to be like, let's see what this motherfucker's talking shit. Let's see what this looks like. Like, you guys are doing what he wants.
You're giving into it. Black magic. So next question, what did you guys think about the changes that were made to the original manuscript for it to be published? What were your thoughts on the scenes that were changed or cut, or names that were changed, characters that were modified? What are your thoughts?
It was very much, that is the discussion when you have, is this story meant for white people? Or is this story meant for the people that it's about?
Mm-hmm. And that was what I remember saying that a couple of times reading this book. And I said this earlier in the live, that when the publicist and, Danielle and Brett and all them are talking about the audience, they're like, oh, well, people want to read this and people don't want that. And da-da-da. We got to make this, easier for them to understand and da-da-da. I'm like, what is the demographic that you're referring to? Because the demographic that you're referring to, I'm pretty sure is not who this book was meant for. So for you to like take all these things out to make, and even when they were talking about making it into a movie, they were like talking about like making edits and taking things out and changing things and who they were going to cast and stuff like that to make it more, I guess, like palatable, more marketable for like the US and stuff like that. And I'm just like, but that's not what this book was for.
There was a Babel reference in the book.
Oh, was it?
At that scene when I don't know if it's the assistant of the movie guy says, any act of translation is an act of betrayal.
What was that from Babel?
That is like Babel, one of Babel's like biggest lines. Like it's on pages, like sprayed pages, like that line. So when I read it, I was like, hey, I get the reference.
See, I haven't read Babel, so I completely missed that. But yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. Like, one of the characters, she talks about, it was supposed to be like a white person doing something. It was like a white missionary or something. And she like changed it and made it an Asian person. And then some of the white characters, like she made them softer and stuff like that. Such, I guess, that the reader would have more empathy or whatever for them, and, kind of humanize them instead of villainize them. And I'm just like, but if these things happened, then they happened. Like, don't try to soften.
You can't whitewash history.
Yeah.
And that's clearly what they were trying to do. It's like, you can't. And you see it all the time in books. You see it all the time in like certain books where you have like the one, like if a book is about indigenous people history and you have the one nice priest, and or just like things like that, and it's like, no, like when she was trying to say the white missionaries, well, maybe they found comfort in Jesus. Bitch, if you don't shut the fuck up.
Or like when she was talking about she was saying something like, I know for a fact, like there's, records of there being, certain white missionaries who were good. And I'm like, that might be true. But that, I don't think those people were probably in the minority. And that doesn't represent the bigger picture of what was going on. Yeah, like by you zoning in on like the one good person in the group, it's like, okay, this is not painting a realistic picture of
or
what
like even
that history was.
The girl that like brought that allowed the guys to kiss her cheeks or whatever, the cheesy shit. that they made. I laughed when they were talking about the memes or whatever. But the fact that she was like, there's enough racism in the book to be shown, but like, bitch.
It's like she missed the point of what the story was supposed to be about.
And that's what happens when you have people. I agree that I believe anybody can write any kind of a story because you don't want to pigeonhole, especially people of color, to like black. You don't want black people to be told they can only write black stories.
Mm-hmm.
So, or you don't want Mexican people to be told you can only write Mexican stories, or gay people can only write gay stories. So I don't agree with anybody can be reading like, but there's just certain things like when you don't know, you don't like. This is what happens when you write a story that's not on that kind of situation.
And we're gonna get into that in a second too. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that she was trying so hard to like balance the scales and show that like they weren't all bad. And it's like, yes, that's probably true. That can be said about anything, any group that has bad people in it. You know, they're not all
we're talking
bad.
about a historical context,
right? Well, but what we're talking about is the bad one. So let's not try to pretend like this didn't happen or these people weren't, you know, malicious or mean or hurtful or whatever. Like, let's not try to gloss over this. Like, they were all just these great missionaries that were helping people. And it's like, okay. Don't try to absolve the guilt that you feel because your ancestors or people that look like you did some really horrible things and you'd rather not focus on that.
Say it again.
That was going to happen somewhat because the book was not finished, but yes, to what Paco said also. OMG, she was so judgmental and how she was removing stuff. She was. Her ignorance was pissing me off.
But then you also had Danielle, who to me was a bigger evil in that situation, because to me it was, she was actively saying cut this,
mm-hmm.
and you had the ignorance of June, because you also had to like, not defending June, but I think it did a good job to show that June was also kind of in a fragile space too, because remember her publishers and stuff like that, she was so scared to do it. And this is not being like, oh, June's innocent, but also to show how evil Danielle was also in her way. Mm-hmm. That
and it's why she was my least favorite character.
Yeah, that like June was kind of like not coerced because she fully did it. Like, it doesn't mm-hmm. absolve her of any type of guilt, but she was kind of pushed into that path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. She said many times she could care less about the content of the book. She only wanted to use it to have a bestseller and be seen as a great writer. Yep, that is very true. Which was sad, because I'm like, this is a story that should be told. Like, this is a story that needs to be out there. People need to know about this. I didn't know anything about the stuff that she was talking about until I read this book. Didn't know that any of that stuff even happened. Like, when that was another moment where it was kind of like relatable when they were like, oh, like, you know, the Chinese were involved in World War II. Like, I didn't know that either. Like, you just taught me something.
World War
I. Oh, I mean, yeah, that's what I meant. I'm like, I didn't know that. You just taught me something. I had no idea. So it's like, I'm sure there are people out there that can benefit from this. And the fact that you just did it to make a buck, I'm just like, this is a moment in history that could be like a teachable moment. And she just didn't care about it. It looks like you have all this knowledge, have this big platform that you could be using, and you just don't care, just in it for the money. It was really sad. Honestly, that's what I thought would lead to her getting caught in edits. It annoyed me how she kept saying how she admired her so much and was friends with her and loved her, yet she cared less what she was doing and doing her wrong. She did not even know her. I know, right? She barely knew that girl. Like, that was the crazy part. She was like, yes, I'm mourning my friend. I'm just like, girl, you didn't even like her. Sit down. Yeah. People hate the criticism of people online. While reading this book, I was loving the people that kept calling her out and proving what she was doing was not hers. Yes, I thought that was really interesting how people could, like, tell. They were like, this girl didn't write this. No. And then what was that girl's name? Diana or something? The one that was, like, writing the reviews and stuff like that?
No, so you had, I think Carmen was the online, like reviewer. Diana was one of the other people at that panel.
Oh, okay. So no, not her. The one that was doing the reviews and stuff. That was like,
I think her name it started with a C. I don't know if it was Carmen, but it was something like that.
Yeah.
Because we never met her like in person. but she met Diana.
I liked her. Yes, that's something that drove me nuts on how she was so obsessed with the good white people in the story. Yes, honestly. There were some truths she mentioned, but her actions and entitlement overshadow any truths. Her actions were wrong regardless. That is true. She trying to balance the scales because she's in her feelings. Yes, that's exactly what it is. She saw herself in those people. Exactly. Whenever someone is doing something they know is wrong, they always over-explain excuses to get for it. That is also true. She didn't even know she was Korean. How about that?
Oh yeah, when she was like, "Can't you do the?"
Yeah, she was like, I'm Korean." I was like, "Ooh, yikes!"
But that wasn't even her. That was Brett that said that.
Yeah, true.
That and I'm not.
But it just shows how toxic that whole group was. That whole group just needed to be educated for real. And I think that that's interesting. That you have all these people in these positions that are so uneducated, that are so ignorant, and it's interesting that these are the people that want to try to make money off of, they're trying to make money off of things that they don't even know anything about, and that to me is so strange.
White people are going to white people, and they're going to stick together. I
love that. White people are going to white people. I absolutely love that. That needs to be a t-shirt.
I'm pretty sure it is. That's not somewhere. So
I was gonna say the book was full of horrible people. Oh yeah, absolutely it was. 100% it was. And that's almost what made it interesting. It was almost like reading a reality show. Just all these toxic, ignorant people.
Well, I feel like what made it feel real is just felt like these were conversations had behind closed doors.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It felt very
even
real.
when she went and visited her sister, and her and the husband were talking about the hair.
Yo, that was crazy. First of all, I was like, okay, so I see where she gets it. She clearly comes from a family that is like this. So I'm not saying it's not her fault, but it makes so much sense. It wasn't like she just became this way out of nothing. She comes from this type of behavior. She was raised with this type of behavior. So it's like, okay, passing it down.
Don't forget, they voted for Obama.
That means nothing to me.
They're gonna remind you.
Yeah, that's their claim to fame. I voted for Obama. Okay, you want a cookie? Good for you. I don't care. But yeah, when they talked about the whole touching of the hair thing, her husband was like, "Yeah, I just feel like you shouldn't touch people's hair regardless of their race. You just shouldn't
exactly. Do it. Why are we just touching people like that?
Yeah. But it was a compliment. I'm like,
if I'm at work and I get too close to somebody because I have to reach behind them to grab something, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm in your space. I'm just trying to grab this because I would hate for someone to be in my space that. Yeah. We just touch it
I just couldn't believe that.
That's a whole different conversation to feel comfortable enough to do that to someone.
She was just like, oh, well, she was giving her a compliment. Bitch, I will backhand you. You don't get away from me. Do not ever touch me. Even my friends, we don't play in each other's hair. That's just not a thing that we do. It's one thing if it's oh, I'm going to do your hair. But we don't just sit around oh my gosh, your hair is so cute, and play in each other's hair. Don't
just to go up to someone and be like, your hair is so
don't.
I'm not, they're not a dog.
Yeah, I'm not a pet. don't stroke my hair. Don't touch me. I will backhand you so quick. Do not touch me. I would say not all white folks are the same. Just like any other race is not all the same. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but when I say whiteness, I am talking about white supremacy.
Yeah,
and I would agree that, and I'm talking about stuff that is actually this is stuff what happens. It's just a trope. It's if it doesn't apply to someone, then they shouldn't be offended about me saying it. When I'm saying it's not I'm insulting. It's just something that happens in a group because of white supremacy.
Right. We all grow up differently and make our own decisions. Yeah. Publishing supports white people writing other culture stories, sometimes more than people writing their own stories. Yeah. And that's sad. It's really sad, honestly. It's really sad.
But that's them winning both worlds. You're getting the diverse story, but you don't have to get another person of color in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very true. White people love touching people's hair. Yeah, I feel like you can like something and you can compliment with your mouth, You can look with your eyes.
But sometimes these compliments just be too wild too, though.
They're like, "Oh, how'd you get it like that?" And it's like, get away from me.
I had this person compliment me by saying they didn't think I was Mexican because I spoke English so well.
Wow. What?
Like, that's not a compliment. Like,
yeah, what? I'm American. I mean, my heritage might be Mexican, but I'm American.
Yeah, I went to and even that, like that doesn't matter. Like, language, like, doesn't denote what you're.
Yeah, what a stupid thing for someone to say. It's completely stupid. I'm sorry, that's not diversity. Not. Yeah, I cannot. But yeah, I forgot that even happened until you brought that up. I could not believe this girl tried to justify her touching somebody's hair. I was just like, ma'am, you are the problem. You are exactly the problem. That was wild to me. But okay, so moving on to the book actually starting to sell, people reading it, people reviewing it, people having thoughts on it, the fires that started to happen on the internet of people having negative things to say about it. Were you guys happy that she was getting criticism? Were you, mad when she was getting praised because like she didn't deserve it, or like what were your thoughts?
Honestly, most of this book just react like I didn't have. It's weird. I have a lot of thoughts on this book, but when I was reading it, I was very just like in my seat watching. If that makes sense, is how wild it was. But like, I mean, yeah, I was glad she was getting called out for it, and but also being on book Twitter, it was inevitable to happen, and it was just fun to watch. Just like when I'm on book Twitter and something's happening, I'm just like, is my air even on? I'm here, but I'm just turning my air on to make sure my air is even on.
Riley said, I thought it was karma. Yes, it was definitely karma. It was 100% karma. And I honestly feel like karma didn't hit her enough. That's what I will say. I feel like there wasn't enough karma that got to her. And the sad part about that is that a lot of times is real life. Like, we're so used to reading stories and watching TV and stuff and movies or whatever, where in the end, like, justice is served and the bad guy gets arrested, whatever.
This could lead us into our conversation about cancel culture.
And I just feel like she didn't get, I feel like, especially like when you get to the end of the book and you see that she still has this mindset, it's like she hasn't been punished enough. And I'm not saying that her punishment should have been her being canceled necessarily, but it just seemed like whatever the punishment was, it clearly wasn't effective. Like, she wasn't hurt bad enough. Karma didn't hit her bad enough because she didn't change in the end. She was worse almost by the end than she was when she first started.
I'm going to say this. Cancel culture doesn't exist. There is no such thing as truly being canceled, especially for white authors. And I have plenty of examples. Look, we're going to take this to real world. J.K. Rowling has been canceled for years, but the bitch still makes tons of money.
Oh, of course.
And you get white authors that will do a crime, or not a crime, because crime is like not. They don't actually do a legal crime. Mm-hmm. But they will do something, and this is just talking about Twitter. This is all about the Twitter like discourse and stuff, where you get the cancel because bitch was still making money. The bitch's books were still being sold, so she was never canceled. Mm-hmm. And this may have to do with someone that may have said something about cancel culture about the book, but it doesn't exist. And then you get like, look at Tomi Adeyemi. Let me use her example because she did what's the book? Bone, Children Bone and Bone. She took forever to write the third book. Years. Like, it took like maybe 5 years. I can pull up receipts. Let me see how long her book, the third book in the trilogy is being published next year. And the last book came out. Sorry, let me pull this up. Because I was talking about this with Princess and Jen, I think.
Exactly, Kiana. Exactly.
So the second book was published 2019, and the next book is being published in next year. And everybody's saying it's taking too long for her to write a book, and like saying she's done for because it's taking too long. But you got motherfuckers like J.K. The Game of Thrones guy and Patrick Rothfuss that no one's saying they're canceled because their books haven't come out yet.
True. True.
But I just don't think that cancel culture exists. And I think that to me, this is where I agreed with June, where this performative outrage only lasts for so long until the next big thing everybody can get mad at. I think when you get like, it just doesn't exist to me because these people are still making money. They're not canceled. That's like, she, at the end of the book, her crimes were revealed. What happened? She had a statement that said what she did, and she's like, I'm gonna make another book, and it's gonna sell a lot of money. And it would sell a lot of money. People would be.
The idea was genius.
The people would be buying the shit out of that book.
Yeah,
and I think that speaks to what our cancel culture really is.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the idea that she had for the book, low-key, evil genius.
Oh, no.
Evil genius idea.
Evil genius. I was like, you crazy. Like, it was smart. It was smart. But, like, I was just like, this shows that there's no such thing as... This is a perfect example of cancel culture not existing. And I hate hearing people say that. Should she been getting death threats? She was a fictional character. Should she be getting death threats? No, of course, nobody should be giving out death threats. But bitch had shit coming.
Yes, Raleigh, shall come to light. Shall come to light. But that's the problem. I feel like it came to light, and then there was still no repercussions as a result of that. That's the issue. just listening to the whole thing unfold, but it all felt familiar. I was eating my imaginary popcorn. It all has played out in real life. It was just so good. Yeah.
Because it has played out. Like, not this exact situation, but...
Similar. Most people do not change unless something really gets to them or they really deeply want to change and learn. Yes. And that was the issue, is that I don't feel like there was anything that happened in terms of like karma. It wasn't anything, like you said, that really got to her. So in terms of like, oh, it was karma, like it was, but like, I don't feel like it did anything. It didn't smack her hard enough in the face for her to be like, let me change my ways. Some people never learn. Yeah, some people are hard-headed. You know what they say about hard heads, though. Amen. Some people are teachable, some people are not. Yeah, this is the truth. Amen. At least this is in church. And lately, everyone is talking about HP again a lot.
Exactly.
I've noticed that. Yeah, I have noticed that. I personally have never read the books or watched the movies. But I've noticed that I've seen a lot more people talking about it recently, which is like, interesting. Because I feel like people were talking about recently how much, J.K. Rowling was canceled and don't support the books and stuff like that. But I feel like there are a bunch of people reading Harry Potter right now. Like, what's happening right now?
And I will say what I said earlier. Would J.K. Rowling be canceled if the communities that she pissed off were just people of color communities? True. If the communities that she pissed off didn't also happen to have white people in it, she wouldn't have been canceled to the degree that she did.
Mm-hmm. And I think that cancellation really, I read something somewhere, it might have been in one of the books that I read this year, I don't remember, but I read something somewhere that was talking about the fact that cancel culture really only works on marginalized groups, because low-key, white communities, again, not every white person, but those white communities.
But when we're talking about it, we're talking about the people that commit the
right. They typically want those marginalized groups to kind of, go back where they came from, stomp them down or whatever. So they use the cancel culture to their advantage to kind of boycott or ignore people of marginalized groups that they didn't really want to acknowledge in the first place. And because they typically are the ones that are in power and in charge and make the rules and stuff like that, they can do that. It's harder for a marginalized group to cancel someone that's white because they're the ones that have the power. Like, the marginalized groups don't have, hence the reason why they're marginalized. They don't have the power and the money and stuff like that to really make a big impact on someone like that, versus when it's the other way around and the white community can put their foot on the necks of marginalized groups. It's easier for them to do that because they're in those positions. They're in those rooms.
It's a position of power.
Yeah.
It's also to the fact that we can talk about this with Athena, where people of color, like, this works for authors, this also works for actors a lot. You will get a person of color that is that person of that. It's like you get Athena was the Chinese writer of the month. Mm-hmm. That is put on a pedestal like one of my, like, I thought about this while reading the book. I thought about Tiffany Haddish, where when Girls Trip came out, it felt like Tiffany Haddish was kind of put up on this pedestal so that, like, oh, we like black people, we like black women comedians, we love Tiffany Haddish, but the minute she started doing stuff that people didn't like, they got to fall from that pedestal, and they could just wash their hands from it.
Agreed. I completely agree.
Like, I've seen reviews from people, and it'll be people of color too, because I feel like a lot of people of color fall into this trap of, you will have a book, let's say it's written by a Mexican author, and let's say some of the representation in that book is not 100% perfect of the Mexican culture, the person's own culture. And then I'll see the review that will say, well, the representation of this isn't 100% perfect. I've never seen a review from a white person that said the representation of the white people in this book wasn't perfect.
That's so true. That's so true. I never even thought about that before. That's hilarious. Yes, cancellations are temporary, especially if you are not a person of color. They are not even. They're
still making money.
Right. Does it depend on how big the person is? Not really. I honestly, you think about what's his name? How did I forget his name? Bill Cosby, for example. Cancel. And I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to be, but what I am saying is there are other people who are not people of color who were doing the same things with him that are not canceled. Meanwhile, not only is he canceled, but when you think about like the bigger picture of stuff like that, what that show did for the black community, you know, back in the time that it came out, how that changed
condoning his actions. I'm saying anybody wants to clip anything, we are not condoning his actions.
Not at all. I'm not saying that what he did was right. I'm just saying that, like, his show being taken off and it's no longer, you know, in syndication and whatnot, there are a lot of actors and people that worked on the show that can no longer, you know, get money from the work they put into, the time that they spent on it. And it sucks that his actions have affected them in that way. But like I said, he wasn't the only one doing that stuff. And the people that were right there next to him, right beside him the whole way through, have not had to face the scrutiny and the cancellation and stuff that he has had to deal with. And that to me is where it's not about, because Bill Cosby was huge. So it has nothing to do with how big you are.
Yeah, it has to do with, like, this is a huge thing. It has to do with race.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, if we want to get serious, we can get serious on it. But just certain things that, kind of word this and not be trying to word it carefully. It seems like when a person of color fails or messes up or screws up, that the community is like, I read this somewhere, I forgot where I read this, but they want them to fail because it shows that they are exactly what people thought they were. When a person fails, they're like, exactly, they're the hoodlums, they're the thugs that we always thought they were. I forgot where I read that, but it was like, yeah. So it's like, and you had Athena that was like on this pedestal that, like, legit, and like Athena had her own like evil issues of like stealing people's stories, but like she was like dating a white man, so she is automatically failing her community and stuff like that. And it's just like, you can't win, you know, a certain way. It feels like it sometimes.
Yeah. And that's why I said earlier, like, it's a way for those white communities to kind of reject and put down people that they never wanted to uplift in the first place. Like, when you get your little bit of shine, they're already like, but there's got to be something wrong with them. There's something, you know, there's got to be a way we can poke a hole in this person's, you know, success. And then the minute they get canceled, it's like, it's giving them all the reason to be like, oh, I knew it. I knew that this person was no good. But it's like, you never really had any faith in them. You never really liked them. You didn't really care for them. You didn't support them from the beginning. So don't try to make it seem like this is the thing that, you know, like, you're just looking for an out. You're looking for an excuse. Something that you can use to be like, oh, yeah. And it's like, okay, have a seat. Like, Roseanne Barr probably won't work in big shows again. I don't know much about her story, so I can't speak on that.
I mean, yeah. But
HP will keep going strong. Yeah. I think, too, that will be a hard author to cancel because of the special place that Harry Potter has in a lot of people's hearts. People
it's on motherfuckers' throats.
Yeah.
It be on people's throats.
Yeah, people live and die by Harry Potter. Like, there's literally a whole amusement park dedicated to it at this point. Like, people live by this book. Like I said, I've never seen it, I've never read it, so I don't really know or understand what the hype is. But I know, just like what's like Star Wars, and like there are a lot of things that have like this cult following. Harry Potter is one of them, so it will be very difficult for people to accept like, oh, this author might be a horrible person. It's hard for people to accept that. They don't want to accept that. They don't want that to be their reality. So it's hard to cancel somebody like that. Yeah. She's still making money. Sure is. Roseanne Barr still goes on right-wing shows and does her... Oh, okay, I didn't know that. She's still making money because the right will always have support of their own. This is true. Yeah, I was reading it and was like, what is the consequence for her now? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that story very well. It's not part of the response. It's not part of that responsibility on society. I mean, for some reason, for someone to learn, should not the public not buy from them and support them? Yes, you are right. That is true. But it's hard to get everybody to be on the same page when it comes to anything.
Because you can't. Because when you get someone that fucks up and then they make an apology, they will get thousands of people that aren't even that insulted community. You shouldn't even have to say sorry. Well, I don't know what they're talking about. You're crazy. They're crazy. You did nothing wrong. So you can't really get an apology. Unless it's not... Words can only do so much. Words are just words. It is actions. And it's up to everybody. Like, it is a deeply personal things and things you buy and stuff like that, and who you forgive and who you don't forgive. But also, you should stay in your lane and only say, I forgive this person if they happen to offend your specific community.
True. But like I said, I think it's hard to get everybody. Like, yes, I agree with you, Riley, that it should be like the society should, be responsible for like not supporting people that are doing, horrible things or whatever. But at the same time, it's basically impossible
because of the imbalance.
Yeah, it's impossible to get everybody on the same page to agree on, one thing.
We can't even get the country to agree on something that we all knew happened, but you still got people denying it. Motherfuckers can't deny on climate change. You think they're gonna decide on like
literally any topic you think of that you name? There will always be people on both sides, arguing their view, their perspective, their opinion, or whatever like that. So I don't think that will ever change. That is just human nature. There will always be people who want the smoke. There will always be people who want to be contrary, who want to be difficult, who want to play devil's advocate, like whatever.
The devil don't need no advocates. I think people need to realize that.
Yeah, there will always be people like that. So if people do nothing, then yeah, they will keep going. Yeah, you're right. And people will continue to do nothing. That is the problem. Honestly, JK is not that canceled because a lot of black folks are homophobic too. Huh. That's not a bad point. I never thought about that. The problem is that whiteness wants to prevent people of color from getting, forgive the term,
they don't want the planes to be equal. They want the power.
Yeah.
They don't want... Because they're so scared to be treated how they treat everybody else.
Yeah. And I think that's what I said. They will use that cancel culture to their advantage to put down anybody that they think is getting too close to being, high up. Yes, Paco, that is the reference to Saigon?
Saigon, Currency.
Oh, okay. That Kuang was referring to. Minorities don't have a lot of room for errors in mainstream. Yep.
It's like, yeah.
They use a white person to rep in Miss... What is Saigon? What is that?
It's
Is it a book?
I'm going to Google right now. I've heard of it before, but
I have not heard of this. Wait, what did Lacey say? Seventh Heaven was taken off of TV permanently because the dad and his allegations, but I agree with what you said 100%. I have never watched a full episode of Seventh Heaven. That's so funny that you just brought that up because I forgot that show even existed until just now. Yeah, Paco's going to look up what this Saigon thing is. I'm not familiar with that. He's not familiar with that. And I want to know what Riley's talking about.
I've heard of it before. Like I've heard this name before.
I was asking if it depends on how big they are because, for example, white artist of Inktober was accused by an author of a book. He said he plagiarized his book. It almost got overlooked until he went on YouTube about it. Oh, this is a story I have not heard about. As it progressed, the man's book never came out, but it was on Amazon and had went and did the plagiarism and online went crazy about it. Oh. But he was not a huge celebrity, so it did get canceled. I mean, yes, but I don't know if that's necessarily related to the cancel culture aspect of it versus he was a nobody, not nobody, but like he was kind of obscure, I should say. And so it wasn't like he was at a point where there was a whole lot of people that knew about the situation to begin with. So he kind of just fell back into the obscurity that he came from versus like being out there and then being canceled. I feel like if you never really are out there to begin with, it's hard to cancel something. It's like in a relationship. It's hard to break up if you were never actually together.
I mean, honestly, what is canceled? Because you're still alive. It's not like you got killed. It's not like you got sent to jail. So what is canceled? Because let's forget. People seem to forget that cancel culture, the term is a term from right-wing people that came up with as a dog whistle to be like, look at all these people that are like saying we can't be mean to black people of color. Like they're canceling me. Like let's forget that. I feel like people forget where cancel culture the term came from.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Saigon was sorry. This just brews in me anytime someone mentions cancel culture. This like rage comes. Miss Saigon, it looks like was a play that is about a white man getting with an Asian woman during one of the wars, and they casted a white woman to play the Asian girl. But there's probably more to it. I think the play itself is inherently, but I do not know enough about it to speak on it.
Yeah. That happened in a Marvel thing, didn't it? There's a Marvel show or a Marvel movie or something where there's like a white guy who's cast to play a character that was originally Asian in the comics or something.
So that happened in Iron Man 3.
Okay.
If comic book nerd Paco coming out real quick. There's a Marvel villain called the Mandarin that is very problematic in its original depictions of this character, that can be very like Eastern sorcerer like racial stereotype, and he's an Iron Man villain, and in the Iron Man 3 their way to do it was to cast a white man to play it, but they were kind of using this as a like the Mandarin was a creation by this white guy to like make the people scared of the villain from the East kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But because they made this big Asian character white, they that got people upset, which like I agree. But they also kind of replaced it with in Shang-Chi. They kind of combined the Mandarin with Shang-Chi's father to make a less racial character into an interesting character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But also there's the Scarlett Johansson thing. If like I know there's that. If you know about the Scarlett Johansson controversy,
I've heard about it.
Where they have that anime movie that came out years ago that starred Scarlett Johansson. Well, this is an anime movie. The main character is Asian, and yet Scarlett Johansson. So everybody's like, my favorite Asian actress is Scarlett Johansson.
So yeah, but it seems like there's a lot of that kind of happening in different pockets of entertainment, which is interesting. Very interesting. That was what I meant. Yeah, and with Harry Potter, like you said, many other people are involved in that to make money or have reps. Yeah. I wish that there was a way, honestly, to make it so that like whoever the person is that messed up can't get anything from it, but like everybody else can still thrive. That was
well. See, the thing about J.K. Rowling is her writing, like she so much is in. She wrote the books. And so much of her stuff is in it. Like if you look at the actual text, there's like really race. The one Asian character is named Cho Chang, and she is in the smart house. Like of all the houses, the house she is in is the one that values intellect.
Mm-hmm.
Like that should. I feel like that says enough about like.
Yeah.
And the like Jewish has like yeah.
Life has changed. Deal with it. Let me see. That's why people kept coming for Obama, looking for hidden skeletons. Oh, yeah. They sure did. Okay, so Courtney knew what it was. And Elyse's also knew what it was. I did not. Yellowface has some based on author's experience and also referring. Okay, I didn't know that. The author has said that about their book. Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, they call Tilda Swinton.
Oh, yeah, that was a different situation. That situation happened because, so that was in the Doctor Strange movie, where Tilda Swinton was playing the Ancient One, which was a old sorcerer of the a wherever the Himalayas are. I forget that region of Asia. The reason they changed it was because China is the second biggest movie box office, and China has problems with that country, and they didn't want to offend China. They wanted to still get money from China, so they changed this character, and they made the character a Celtic sorcerer. And they also wanted to get rid of this trope of white guy goes to Asian person to learn how to fight and is the best that there is at fighting or magic. So they wanted to change it. It's still problematic, but they were trying to make it less problematic. Did they succeed? No. But
I watched Miss Saigon. It was a beautiful musical, very emotional. Tibet, yeah.
Thank you.
White folks for eons were using white people to be other races in plays and music. Yeah. Also men as women. Yeah, that is also true.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, white people going white people.
But ... now want to scream at Disney characters being played by someone that is not white.
Our redhead representation is gone.
Yeah.
Oh my
ignorant. So jumping back to Yellowface.
It's interesting conversations though that are happening because
absolutely. And that's one of the things about this book is that there's so much that's happening in this book. There are so many tangents that you could go on, and so many things in real life that you could relate this back to and stuff. That this discussion could go on forever because there are just so many different directions that you could take this in.
I do want to say a part kind of going similar to they're talking about the people on the pedestal conversation that we had. Let me go to it so we don't get back on the book and then I do a different tangent. So I saw a TikTok where this person was talking that an interview R.F. Kuang gave, and a lot of people I feel like from reading this book would assume that Athena was based on R.F. Kuang because they're both Chinese authors that got famous in their early 20s and burst onto the scene. But R.F. Kuang said that she wrote Athena to be a version of herself that she never wants to be. That is her worst nightmare is to be like Athena, someone that would use the pain of others for profit. And so I thought that was very interesting of her writing a shadow self kind of in the book. I thought that was very interesting. And it showed, I think you could see how it showed that how villainous Athena herself was.
And that's what I wanted to kind of switch gears into was talking about Athena now. We've talked about June. So switching gears and talking about Athena.
Look psychic.
Huh?
I said, look, I'm psychic.
What is everyone's thoughts on Athena? Now that they finished the book, they know all the tea, or at least what was spilled in the book from the perspective that we get. What are your thoughts on Athena? Is she still the victim? Is she a villain? Is she, what are your thoughts on her?
I think she is a victim and a villain. It doesn't erase it. I was gasping when it was revealed that she stole her rape story. And that did remind me of something that happened on the booker webs.
Really?
So there was this book that was going to come out, and I know about it because it was a witchy book. And it was basically the premise of the book was these girls in college that were all raped or had SA involved with them in their lives were going to use learn magic to get payback. And it turns out that this author was a part of a support group and was verbatim, word for word, using the experiences of the women in this group for her characters. Didn't change anything, but legit use their experience for the plot.
That to me is so interesting, and I feel complicated because I think that any character that is written by any author is inspired by someone that they know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but there's like a difference from that to like legit verbatim, word for word, using. Sorry, something fell on my desk. I was like, using word for word to their experiences,
especially without like getting their consent. Like, hey, can I use this in the story? But it's like, at what point? How do you know like where the line is versus like what you can draw from as inspiration to build your characters, to create your story and your plot, versus like what things are like I mean, some things are obviously clearly off limits, like stealing someone's story verbatim, especially when it's a topic that's as sensitive as like SA. Like, obviously there's a clear line there, there's no question about that. But I think that there are other things and elements that where it's like, how do you as a writer or in any profession or whatever, how do you know where that line is? How do you decide like what is too far or what needs consent? You know, what do you need to go to that person like, hey, is it okay if I use this? Versus you just being like, I was inspired by this, or what, you know, stuff like that. That's what I was gonna say, Paco. You can be both victim and villain. Yeah. Hey, Jigra. Out to dinner, but I came to say hello, like, and support. Thank you. Read Yellowface back in April for Asian American Pacific Islander and Brandy Shanae's book club. Okay, I didn't know she read that back in April. Nice. Hope your dinner's going well. Hello, Jigra. Inspiration comes from somewhere, but you should give someone a heads up. Agree. I am in the minority yet again. I enjoyed the book. You're not in the minority. We all enjoyed the book. Yeah, we all loved it. Well, at least I think in my top 10. Everybody who said what their ratings were loved it. There might be some people who maybe are lurking that didn't say their rating, and maybe they didn't say it because they hated it. But as far as I know, everybody here liked it. Hello, Rally. All art uses inspiration, but that is very different from directly taking it. Yes. We all love the book. Yeah, I would say so for the most part. But yeah, it's like, how do you know where
did they not love the book in the book club? Like, was there a whole book club that hated the book?
Maybe so, honestly. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised. And that's why I said earlier, I would love for someone who's actually a part of this culture to like be a part of this discussion, because there may be a lot of things that we don't know because we're not part of that culture, that we, you know, something went over our head, things that we weren't able to really like analyze properly because we are also ignorant to a culture that you know, we are not a part of.
Yeah. So we are taking our experiences as POCs to this situation, but we are not exactly Asian. So if anybody in the chat's Asian wants to like
like, please share your opinion. I would love to know. Like in illustration, you are inspired, but if you take directly their stuff or trace it or use the same exact theme, that is different and not okay. I was in the book club. We love the book. I think some didn't like it as much because it was too on the nose. Ooh, but I remember us all liking it. Interesting.
Okay.
Or like in BookTube, there was a BookTuber that used someone's exact name, over readathon, and did the setup basically the same. Oh, wow. That's tea. That's stealing, not inspiration. Yes, I agree. But I think sometimes that line can get blurred. I think there are some things that are like clearly stealing. But I think there are other things where the line is like blurry, and like how do you figure out like where that line is and whether or not you've crossed it? That's more so like what I'm curious. Like, how do you know? Is it just one of those things where like when in doubt?
I think also when you're getting profit from it,
that's true.
It brings a whole different conversation into it.
That is true. And I think that she should have done more like with the money that she was getting. Like, she got that money and like banked it, and like she did a lot of like grown-up things, and I'm happy for her that she like got health insurance and you know, all these great things that she couldn't. And that was one of the things, that was one of the moments where I started to like see June as a
I related when she was like, I got this money and I went to get my teeth done. I was like, me too.
Exactly. It was like that was the moment where I started to see June as like a multi-dimensional character and not just this, you know, evil person or whatever. Because I'm like, here is this girl who, despite the fact that she, you know, was more privileged than, you know, someone from a marginalized community, there were a lot of things that she didn't have. Like, she didn't have health insurance.
Athena was rich.
Yes.
So like that also plays a difference to it. June wasn't. But like June came from a single parent household, and Athena was rich and was able to afford all this stuff. That like that also plays a part into it. It's class and stuff like that. I feel like doesn't get talked about enough about like class disparities.
But there were a lot of things. I wonder if I highlighted
I also thought it was interesting, and this kind of goes back into what I said about like how she wrote Athena, but Athena very much didn't want other Asian people to succeed because she didn't want that spot to be taken.
Mm-hmm.
That she didn't want to mentor nobody, and she didn't want to do that. So I thought it was interesting that when June like got the money at first, her intentions were good, but we saw where it fucking ended up. Yep. She wanted to kind of give back to the community in a way.
Let me see, where is it at? So she bought a new laptop. That's not really important. I'm trying to see, where is it at?
She paid the rent. Student loans, I think, were paid.
Oh yeah, the student loan thing. I'm trying to like find it. I thought I had it like highlighted. Oh, she finally saw a doctor, so she went to go see a primary care physician, which she hadn't done before. She paid her bills. She got a physical, which she hadn't done in a long time. She got her student loans done. She got health insurance. Like, there were some like real adult things that she did that she wasn't able to do prior to this happening. And so in that moment, like I said, that was the first moment where I was like, oh, okay, there's layers to this girl. Like, she's not just this rich, white, entitled girl who's stealing, from the underprivileged or whatever like that.
I think that speaks to the fact that, like, because June on all fronts was a liberal white woman. So she was the part of the person that acts like they're for the cause or whatever, but it's secretly, like, because of the way our country works, against it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was, like, June could have straight up, like, even though she had these thoughts, she could have been like one of those like traditionally racist bitches, but she wasn't originally, which was
like how her friends were in the group chat.
Yeah. Oh, the fact that one of the friends could say adamantly, "I never agreed with fascists," but I was like, I would have aired that conversation out so quick after they tried to ghost her.
No, she shouldn't air her out. It was one of those girls that said something like, yeah, that's why they need us to like tell these stories. Like, without us, these stories wouldn't get told. I was like, excuse me, without you, white woman, these Asian and people of color stories wouldn't be told? Like, what are you saying to me right now? I would have screenshot it and posted that on social media so quick. Oh my gosh. I have to say, R.F. Kuang is king. What she has written is absolutely different than the other. That is a true talent.
My credit card number. Bill me the minute you start writing the book.
I've never read anything else by this author. This is my first book by this author. But it sounds to me like she's like the Johnny Depp of books.
It's not problematic.
Right. I mean, like, in terms of like the versatility.
Yeah, because like Babel is a historical fantasy. The Poppy War is a war fantasy, like full-on high fantasy, which, I mean, I suggest reading all of her books. I read The Poppy War this year and Babel last year, and I'm like...
Oh, that's good to know. A lot of people hated the book when it came out. Really?
Well, a lot of certain...
Yeah, I was gonna say, what kind of people we talking about?
We all know the type of people that hated this book when it came out.
Why did they hate it? Did it offend because it really
we rally be look at you know why they hated it. Just like they hated Babel for a certain reason.
Did they? I didn't know that.
There was a bitch that legit said on TikTok, and she got a lot of people were agreeing with her. And you could look at the reviews. They said, I would have enjoyed Babel if I was Asian. I just couldn't relate.
Oh wow. Okay, well.
Those are I'm not talking about the people that just didn't care for it. I'm talking about the people that hated it. We all know why they hated it. Don't lie. Don't lie. You know why they hated it.
People should be aware of it, and many are not, or do not understand why it's wrong. Slight pivot. Hi, B. Slight pivot. Kuang is Chinese and beautiful. If this unique story had been written by a Caucasian woman with little else being changed, would the value be the same? The interruption and intent. That's a good question, and that was a question that I was going to ask like later on in this discussion. But since you brought it up, we can talk about it now, because I was wondering the same thing: is would this book have been received differently if the author was not Asian and specifically Chinese?
I don't know if. Trying not to sound problematic. There were certain things that R.F. Kuang experienced that you know she experienced because she was an Asian woman that she wrote into this book. So I don't think it would have been as done as well.
Okay.
Because the experiences that R. Kuang has had, this is like her experience in the publishing industry. And if she was a white woman, a Caucasian woman, she would not have those experiences. It would be very different experiences, but not these exact experiences. So I don't think she'd be capable. Not that it wouldn't make her any less of a writer, but I don't think she would be able to write this story.
You don't think that she could have interviewed someone?
There's a difference between interviewing and experiencing.
Okay.
And I mean, like, look, it legit, like June's story. She did the research, she did everything, but she just didn't understand. She was able to make those cuts. So I think that there is just something so it's an experience that people of color have that went into this book that is just not as understandable. Like, you could be I could say it for Queen Queer and certain things. There's just certain things you understand when you are a certain thing that you don't when you aren't.
I wonder too, because like comparing this question to like what happened in the book, when you were saying like, you know, when you're a part of that group and you have these experiences, you're gonna write about it differently. And I was thinking about, like, you know, with Athena, how when she originally was writing this manuscript, this was something that she was interested in and passionate about. And I think that showed in her writing and the way that she talked about certain things that the publisher and editor or whatever ended up, you know, cutting out. And I wonder if this was written by a white author or a Caucasian author or whatever, if the same thing, you know, would have happened, where there may have been things that R.F. Kuang put in this book that would have gotten taken out because they felt like, oh, it's not important for the reader to know this, or oh, this is.
It would very much have been that.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like, speaking about how it was like taken by people, I would have felt real hesitant to read a book called Yellowface written by a white woman. I'll be 100% honest with you. I would look at this book with so much time, like me as a person, that I don't need to read American Dirt. I don't know if you know what American Dirt is.
I've never heard of it, but they talk about it in this book.
American Dirt is a book written by a white woman who writes a book. She writes a book about Mexican illegal immigrants, and it's that story. And you can very much tell this is written by a white woman. She kind of makes fun of some of the cultural stuff like that, and it's like a lot of Hispanic readers, especially Mexican, hate this book. They're like, and you get people like supporting it and shit like that. But she didn't understand. She didn't understand it, and fuck her for writing it. But I will say that full heart with my chest, because you can write a book and appreciate it. Like, I'm not gonna sit and, even though I'm not gonna read, I don't ever think I'm gonna read what's her name, 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hugo, because because her characters, she also writes Latina characters, Carrie Soto's Latina, and so is Evelyn Hugo. But I don't think those are not the same level of offensive as American Dirt is.
I don't think that she incorporates too much of like their culture into the stories that she's writing. She very much writes stories that they are Americans that are descendant, you know, their ancestry is Latinx, but they, you know, it's not like they speak Spanish or things like that, or they might know how to speak it, but like they don't do it in the books. So she kind of like avoids having to make those errors.
I always want to be careful on that, because Spanish is, just because you don't speak Spanish doesn't make you any less of it. And
no, I just mean like she specifically writes these characters in a way where the culture isn't at the forefront, so she can like avoid hitting those like walls that people.
And, like, I haven't read them, so I can't speak on those, but I haven't read them on choice because of those reasons. Because like I rather read like Latin authors, but like I will say it's a difference between her and American Dirt. So, but I do feel like there's just some stories don't need to be told by some people. And I feel like I said, I will confidently say that if Yellowface was written by a white woman, I would not have read it.
I read Yellowface after watching and reading The Other Black Girl, and the stuff they were saying about Athena reminded me of that, when it was said that there can only be one black girl. I have not read that, and I know that the show recently came out. I don't know. I've heard really terrible things about
I've heard terrible things about it too. And I was surprised they made the show, but I'm like, the show seems interesting. I didn't even know it was a thriller.
Me either.
I've only ever heard of how it was bad.
Yeah, same. But that's interesting that you read this like following the other Black girl and were able to kind of make those connections. I think the content would still be valuable, but would need to fact check. And I personally think there would not be the person that should voice it because she does not have that experience. Someone who knows it should tell it. That's just my opinion. Great question. I think it could have been. Okay, so Elysius thinks it could have been. That's definitely something to consider. You don't take others' voices. It's not her story in that case. True.
I'll be honest.
It's possible for sure. I'm not sure this book could have been written by a white person. Okay. I've read all of her published books. They are different genres, different vibes, completely different. You can tell they were written by the same person. You can't tell they were written by the same person. Interrupt as in the thought-provoking and culture consider its cause. Yeah. I think book breeds more authentic coming from a minority. Mm-hmm. I agree. Also, the author says she wrote it partly off her own experience in real life experience, so a white person writing it would not have had those experiences. Exactly. I think there is room for the same impact. The girlies like to see folks call out their own. That is true. I just think BIPOC would point out that this is an instance where a white author is telling a BIPOC story.
But the thing is that girlies loving white savior stories? I'm not like critiquing her. I'm just saying like, isn't that what that is? So.
But I mean, she's not wrong.
But I do agree with the same impact. I don't think it would be the same story.
Yeah.
But maybe it could have had the same impact. Yeah. But it would not have been I will confidently say it could not be the same story.
Yeah. And I feel like if it's not the same story, I don't know that it would have the same impact on everyone. I think that some people may have walked away with the same message that like this book would have given us, but I think there are other people that would have missed the point or missed the mark because it wasn't written by someone who could write it as authentically as someone that is from that community. If a white person wrote it, it would have seen it as someone just trying to make money. Oh yeah.
I would have side-eyed like
100%.
No different daddy.
But if a white person writes on history, I would still read it for knowledge, but I would fact check. Yeah. I feel like even if it's someone that's a part of the community, fact checking is still worth it because some people, and the other thing that people have to realize is that just because you're a part of a community doesn't mean that you know everything about that community. You're not like an encyclopedia of information. Yeah. You're like the spokesperson for that community.
Like I will take myself for an example. I am Latinx, but I am Mexican American. I am a umpteenth generation born. So my situation is not the same as someone who's first generation or someone that immigrated to this country or like that, or someone that lives in Mexico. Like there is all different, or like someone that's Puerto Rican or stuff. There's all these very different things. We are grouped together, but we are all different.
Yeah.
In our experiences. So I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think that even if you were to compare like yourself as a Mexican American to another Mexican American, even y'all's
California, they're Mexican
exactly like even y'all's experience like, would still be different because depending on where you're located. Different. Yeah. So it's interesting when people critique.
They like to put us as a monolith. Like they try to put minorities as a monolith.
Yeah,
and that speaks to the pedestal. That speaks to the pedestal because they don't want to see us as individuals. They want to see us as
let's just lump them into this group and just deal with them as a collective versus realizing that all of our experiences are different. Like, you know, my experience could be very different from Princess's experience, even though we're both, you know, Black Americans. Our experiences, I'm sure, are very different. You can't just be like, oh yeah, all the Black girls, and it's like, okay, no. So it's interesting when people critique the writing of a person of color and their representation of certain things, because it's like their representation is based on their experience and what they have seen or gone through or whatever, or what people around them have seen and gone through, and that can be very different from like whatever your experience is and whatever you've seen and gone through or watch other people go through or whatever like that. So I always find that very interesting. I did have a question that loosely relates to this though. Ooh, what's your question? Because I am not of the colorful variety, I do not know. I'll just leave it here. Oops. Oh gosh, what's happening? Latinx are not all. Yeah, the monolith at all. Exactly.
Yeah, nobody's a monolith.
Yeah. We are discussing white people speaking on other cultures. So the man who wrote the Peanuts comics and cartoons, someone asked him why he did not make more races in this comic. What was his answer?
Charlie Brown, if you didn't know.
Yeah, what was the answer when they asked him that question?
Yeah.
What was the answer?
If nobody knows, Peanuts were Charlie Brown.
He responded because I did not want to represent them in the wrong way. I know white people. That's interesting. And I've had this question like in my mind for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of back and forth and different opinions and conflicting opinions about, because like you said earlier, like, people should be able to write whatever they want. Like you can't pigeonhole someone and tell them they can write, one kind of story. But it's like, I feel like there are people who complain that there's not representation in books, but then when there is representation, it's done differently. I mean, it's done. They say that it's done incorrectly. And it's like, well, what do you want? Do you want it or do you not want it? Or do you only want it in the way that you want it, or like what?
I, as a person, do not need to read I don't need to know what Claire, who lives in Ohio, who's only known one black person her whole life, I don't need to hear what her representation looks like. Like, she has a story to tell, cool, but I don't need to hear what she feels like she has, because that's tokenism. We don't need and want tokenism. Like, because I'd rather have no representation. Like, in a book, I'm not talking about the world, but in a book, I'd rather have no representation than racist representation.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be racist because she just doesn't know. Because, like I said, she lives in Ohio and maybe only knows one Chinese person. So
that's interesting. I'm curious to know what people in the comments, like, what their opinion would be. Because, like, I feel like there are so many, like, everybody wants something different, it feels like. It's like you're saying, like, you'd rather not have representation at all than to have it and it be
in that book. I'm not saying that book.
And to have it be inaccurate. And I feel like there are other people that will look at a book and go, oh my gosh, like there were no black characters, or there were no, LGBTQ characters in this book, like, and like criticize it for not having the representation. But it's like, if they had put it in there and they'd done it wrong, you would have still had an issue. And it's hard for them to do it right because they will be writing about something that they don't know anything about and that they've never lived. So it's like, how do you win?
It's like, if I want a book and I want to see Black, Asian, Latina representation and I want it done well, I'm going to go to a Black author. I'm going to go to an Asian author. I'm going to go to like a Latina author. Like, if I want that representation, I'm like, I'd rather read that and give my money to that than Miss Thing from Ohio. Not saying Miss Thing from Ohio can't write good books. Fuck, maybe the Miss Thing from Ohio's book is one of my favorites. But if I want that itch of like representation, I'm gonna go to safer bet.
And that's fair. That's fair. So what do you think of people writing about people of other cultures in their books, to have someone proofread or co-write with them in their writing? I've thought about the co-writing thing. I am not an author, so I don't know what kind of problems that could lead to, or what kind of difficulties and obstacles as an author.
Well, I mean, co-writing is something completely different, because that's like a combination of something. That's a collaboration. That's the word.
Right, and that's what I said. That probably opens up a whole different can of worms, not related to the culture and things like that, but like just collaborating. Like when you're passionate about what you wrote and somebody else is passionate about what they wrote, and you're trying to figure out a way to fuse these two things together. I don't know how that works.
That's a whole different process.
Right, exactly. And that's what I'm saying.
That's why we have things like diversity. That's why we have sensitivity readers.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, you should pay sensitivity readers. Don't expect people to do work for free.
True.
That's what sensitivity readers are for.
I think that because that was one of the things when I, earlier when I was like, well, how do you win kind of thing. That was one of the things that I thought of. I'm like, well, maybe if you like wrote it with someone that's a part of that community that can like give guidance or like get an advisor or something. Also, I don't really know how you would do that.
To be like, I would be so weird for me to like go up to you and be like, hey, I'm writing this.
What's your experience as a black person?
Yeah. Is this good? Like,
and that's why I said like I don't really know how you would go about like how do you win, because I feel like the ideas that are out there are still problematic in their own way.
So, I mean, like honestly, as long as you're paying them, like I said, a sensitivity reader.
Yeah. And going back to what I said earlier about how like everybody, even within a specific community, their experiences are different. You could have a sensitivity reader or a couple of them, and they will,
you're never on it. Sorry, let me not cut you off.
No, but they would have like one opinion on it. Let's say, you're a writer, you get some sensitivity readers, but all your sensitivity readers are, let's say you're writing a book about, black people or whatever. You get a bunch of sensitivity readers that are from California. They're going to read it. They're going to have their opinions on it. But then if someone in like Florida reads it, they're going to be like, oh no, this isn't how it happened. It's like, how do you win? Because everyone's experience is so individualized.
I think people need to also realize you're never going to make anybody happy.
True.
You could have the ripest, you could have the best peach on the orchard, and you still find bitches that don't like peaches.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how peaches are grown. That's why I said like, I don't know shit like that. But just like, you can make a good ass sandwich and it'd be amazing, but someone's allergic to bread.
Mm-hmm. True. I have to agree. If you don't know how to write a BIPOC person, more respect if you say you don't know how to write these characters, and that this is why all your characters are the clear variety. And it's interesting that you said that, because I feel like there was something, was it on TikTok? This was like a couple of months ago. There was an author that did say that was the reason why they weren't including it, in their books, whatever, because they didn't know how, or they didn't know, they didn't want to do it incorrectly or whatever like that. And people were mad at them for that. They were like, oh, well, you need to learn, like, ignorance is not an excuse, like, da-da-da. That's why I'm like, how do you win? Because I feel like no matter what you do and what you say, there's always going to be some group that's like bashing you, saying that you did the wrong thing. If you're going to represent, then do it well, but not all representation.
Sorry, phone went off. The problem is having Apple.
But not all representation means the same. This is true. Good Lord, all the things I want to say. Please let us know. Let us know. At least tell all. Interesting. Thank you. Was curious what others thought on it. There are many out there self-publishing now. Yes, that is true. There are a lot more people self-publishing now than there were before, for sure. It seems like indie publishing is also becoming like trendy as well, which I thought was interesting.
Oh shit! Don't mean.
If you just say character is black, then move on, then it's kind of a checkpoint. If everyone else is white, characterizes better.
I'm gonna be honest with you. There's some white authors that are writing these characters, and then I will see artwork, and I was like, this character was black. Like, you could have. They maybe mentioned it like once that they had dark skin or umber skin. Like they make one comment, and then I'll see the fan art that they post, and I'm like, they were a person of color. Like, thank you.
Too much to write. Oh. I'm trying to think what else happens in this book. Obviously, the ending.
Bitch falls down.
Her psycho-delusional monologue.
She was ready to kill her. She was planning to kill her. She
literally thought about it. She was like, she literally says, oh my gosh, I know that I highlighted this. Hold on. She literally thought about it. I was like, not you considering it. She said, but I could survive a murder investigation. I can't survive what Candace will do if she walks out of here alive. I was like, not you really contemplating murder over a book. Like, stop it right now. Could not believe that. At first I thought that she was just like, you know how like when you're like panicking, like all the ideas fly through your head, like every possibility, every possible outcome and choice, whatever. No, she really stopped and was like, I was like, But yeah, the ending was crazy. She was like, I can write a book and I can do this and I can do that and I can flip it this way and make people think that. I can confuse the story and confuse the reader. I'm just like, not you manipulating people. A mess. I think I wrote that in the Discord too. I was like, yo. That was crazy. Jew out of control. Yes, 100% out of control. Yeah, that was for a weird line. I was like, she has lost it for real. Yes. Yes. I'm trying to think what else. Like, what are your closing thoughts? First of all, I thought that low key, I thought that she was gonna kill Candace, and there was gonna be like a second book about her trying to get away with murder and writing about it at the same time. Literally, that's where I thought this was going. I was like, are we getting a sequel with her trying to evade her murder charges? Because that would kind of be epic.
Let's see, any closing thoughts on this book?
Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about?
We talked about Athena. We talked about the model minority kind of thing. Talked about nothing that I can think of on the top of my head.
June is a resilient character, master inventor, at least in her head. Yes, you have to give her credit. She is resilient.
She is a survivor.
Yes, she is. But you know what they say about cockroaches? It takes they will survive even a nuclear explosion, and that's
at the end of the world. It will be cockroaches and Cher.
In June. Low-key expecting Athena to pop out.
When she thought Athena was still alive, I was like, is Athena still alive?
I know, right? I was like, wait. Nick?
The fact that she started going into like Asian mysticism because
I was like, oh my gosh. She was like reading like all the ghost stories and stuff. Also, the ghost stories that she was talking about that were like those Asian ghost stories, I was like, oh, this is disturbing.
Oh Asian horror, like Chinese horror, Japanese horror, slaps a different type of way.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh. What in the world? At least in her head, right. I know she didn't get murdered, but if she had, I was expecting Athena to pop out. There was a part of me for a second that did think, I'm like, wait, is Athena alive? I was like, but wait, no. You saw her die, right? But then when she said it was a closed casket, I was like, maybe she could be alive? Did y'all discuss Chinatown? Yes.
In DC. I thought that scene was really, like when she was in the restaurant and she's a bitch, racist bitch. But just like, ugh.
Yeah. That was an interesting scene. Very interesting. From the moment she got there, the whole like her trying to be like, oh no, I'm not trying to do anything bad. And the girl being basically like, get out.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you burned your bridges, ma'am. Even strangers who don't know you hate you. I also thought it was interesting that the story took place where it did, like the setting of it being in DC. I thought that was interesting. And like the references to Chinatown. Also the place where she went to, like that the meeting where she like met Mr. Lee, that little like reading or whatever that she did. I thought that was interesting that she chose to have that set in Montgomery County, because Montgomery County, I don't know the statistics, right? I just know what people say. And that is an area that is said to have a high Asian population compared to other places, other counties in the state. My county and Moco probably are the two, I would say, that have like the highest Asian populations. And with Montgomery County being right next to DC, it just made so much sense. Like if she had that scene take place in like PG County or Howard County, well, maybe Howard County, but like PG County, which is also right next to DC, I don't think that scene would have made sense. So it's like I can tell that she did her research in that aspect of like choosing the setting, like choosing her setting wisely. I thought was also like really cool that she did that. But yeah, I think we've hit all of the
only thing maybe we didn't talk about enough was like the school.
What school? Oh, when she was like bullying that girl.
Yeah. And kind of talking about like and I feel like this is mainly a because of society, female fear, or like a fear for more women in like in companies and stuff like that, a fear of being replaced, kind of, just because you have society having like women compete against each other and stuff like that. That I thought that was a pretty interesting discussion, and Athena kind of had that too. With like she was like looked down on other Asian writers, and then she was even with that with her mentee that she was having, that was like kind of looked down on her for that, of like the fear of being replaced.
She literally said that. She says in the book, like, I hope that she doesn't get bigger than me and like sell more books than I do. I was like, can you not be happy for her success? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, and that was one of the moments where it's like I understood what she was feeling, because there is that fear that it's not so much a fear of someone else's success. It's more like a, what's the word, like an insecurity, where you're like, if this person who was like, I don't want to say beneath me, but like this, basically like she was studying under her, you know.
Yeah, and she's
like in a sense she's beneath her. It's like, if this person excels and reaches a level that I'm not even at, then what does that say about me? It was more of like an insecure kind of moment. And I think that there are a lot of, like you said, women who feel like that because it is kind of just ingrained in the culture and society.
Yeah. Like it's an issue that women have, but it's because of men in society, where it's kind of like the American Horror Story, like the young replaces the old kind of thing of it. And I thought that was like an interesting talking on it, about like just that fear or whatever of it.
And even just like her talking about like that boost of serotonin or dopamine or whatever it was,
annihilating that girl.
It was like it's almost like, I think about you know, actors and singers and stuff like that often, like back in the day, not so much now as much, but like back in the day, those types of celebrities were always you know, dying from like overdoses and stuff like that. There's a huge like drug problem in that industry. It's like normalized in that industry that like everybody does drugs and parties and drinks and stuff like that. And I've heard different celebrities talk about their experiences with that, and say that one of the reasons that they do drugs like coke and stuff like that is because it gives them a similar rush to the feeling that they have when they're performing. And so if they can't perform, then like this is the other way to kind of artificially get that feeling. And I thought that it was interesting that her as an author, you know, she's not a performer, she's a writer, and her experiencing those same, you know, similar feelings of, you know, that rush and that dopamine and that serotonin, just from like looking at, you know, Instagram, you know, getting the likes and seeing the reviews on Goodreads and stuff like that, and how she was almost like a junkie, like she was like craving it, she like needed it, and when she wasn't getting it, she like didn't know what to do with herself. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
she was more scared of being irrelevant than she was of like her secret coming out.
Exactly, because it was that rush. She like wanted to be at that peak of that wave, and she wanted to just stay there. So when it started to slowly go down, she was like panicking, like, no. It's like when your high is like fading off, you're like, no. It's like, oh my gosh, like, girl,
calm down.
Like reel it in.
Smoke some weed.
You reel it in, dial it back. It's gonna be okay. You're not dying. You're not fading out of existence. You can just write out of the book. Just calm down. She was like freaking out. But I just thought that was interesting, because I've never thought about an author or writer feeling that type of, you know, experience, having that type of experience in the same way
they are an artist.
Entertainers do. Right. Exactly. And that's what I was like, oh, I never really thought about it from that angle. I've only ever thought about it from like performers who like are in front of a camera or up on the stage. I never thought about how people that are behind the scenes, like writers, like, you know, producers and stuff like that, like they might be feeling that same type of, you know, feeling and pressures and stuff like that. So this book kind of opened my eyes to that. I hadn't thought about that before. But yeah, is there anyone in the comments wants to talk about, or things that we didn't talk enough about, or has questions about, wants to discuss, whatever, before we head out? If not, we will be wrapping up this discussion. And while we are wrapping up, one of the things that I wanted to do at the beginning of this, but I low-key forgot, I want to do a poll to see what book people might be interested in reading for October. So I'm going to do that now. And of course, I forgot what the books were.
Yeah.
Naturally. There were 4 that I wanted to do a poll for, and I could only remember 2 of them. So let me go to my Libby app to see if I can. Oh, yeah. That's one of them. Is there another one?
Not seeing any other like comments pop up right now.
Huh?
I was looking to see if like any comments popped up that was like, but nothing really.
Okay. Hopefully you guys can see that. So let me know what you guys' thoughts. Huh?
I was no, I was responding to someone.
Oh. Yeah, let me know if you guys, which of those 3 you all would be most interested in reading for October.
What are the 3? What are the 3?
It is All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham, Mr. Magic by, who was the author of Mr. Magic? Kirsten White, and The Kiss Curse by, I forget what her name is, but it's the same girl who wrote the XX.
Okay.
Aaron Sterling.
Can I do a recommendation?
Sure.
Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Moreno Garcia.
Oh yeah, that's is that the Mexican Gothic lady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's her newest book.
I am not going to, because we are live, I don't want to influence people's opinions and reading choices. So I will not say anything about that book. We will leave that there.
Talking about Mexican Gothic. She's read Mexican Gothic.
I will leave that where it is. I'm gonna leave it alone. She knew she was not a good writer and could not follow up also. That's funny. Great combo. Thank you, Elises. Good show. Happy. Yes, B, I'm glad that you're here. Definitely. Also, if you guys are not subscribed to Paco, be sure to subscribe. He is linked down below in the description. So check out his channel.
My wrap up just went up today. So I talked about this in there.
Yes, Rally, you're right. It's showing 3 because I don't remember what the 4th one is. I can't figure out what it is. So those 3 are the only ones, unless you guys want to sit here while I try to find the 4th one. I don't think you guys want to do that. So I just put the 3. I don't know these books. I don't think. Yes, Mr. Magic is a new release. Mr. Magic just came out last month or the month before, something like that. So that is a new release. I don't remember, if I'm being honest, what these books are about. They were books that were on my TBR. So they're books that I obviously must have had an interest in for some reason. I think Mr. Magic is about it's a TV show. That, go ahead. If you have it pulled up, you can read it.
The Kiss Curse. I have that one pulled up. That was one of them.
Oh, okay, yeah, you can read that one.
By Aaron Sterling. Welcome to Spooky Season, the follow-up to Aaron Sterling's New York Times bestseller hit, The XX, featuring fan favorite Gwen and the spine-tingling handsome Wells Penhallow as they battle a new band of witches and their own magical chemistry. Gwen Jones is perfectly happy with her life in Graves Glen. She, her mom, and her cousin have formed a new and powerful coven. She's running a successful witchcraft shop. Something wicked, and she's started mentoring some of the younger witches in town. As Halloween approaches, there's only one problem. Luane Wells Penhallow Wells has come to Graves Glen to reestablish the family's connection to the town they founded, as well as to make a life for himself after years of being the dutiful son in Wales. When he opens up a shop of his own, he quickly learns he's gotten more than he's bargained for in going up against Gwen. When their professional competition leads to a very personal and very hot kiss, both Wells and Gwen are determined to stay away from each other, convinced the kiss was just a magical fluke. But when a mysterious new coven of witches come to town and Gwen's powers begin fading, she and Wells must work together to figure out just what these new witches want and how to restore Gwen's magic before it's too late.
So this is like an interconnected standalone with the X-Hex. So in the X-Hex, I forget what the characters' names are, but the Kiss Curse is the main character from the X-Hex is her cousin, and the male guy character is his brother. And if you read the X-Hex, there is quite a bit of sexual content that takes place in that book. So it's basically spooky witches comedy, smut, kind of all wrapped up into one book.
Mr. Magic is by who?
Kirsten White, I believe.
Okay.
I think from what I remember, it's about like a show that's no longer on the air, and like they want to either reboot it or do a reunion or something. And it's like it was weird how the show ended. Like a bunch of people from the show like died or something. I forget what happened, but it's basically a scary, spooky. It's supposed to be a scary, spooky book.
I'm looking for it so I can do the description right now.
And then what was the other? All the Dangerous Things. That's Stacey Willingham. That's basically a book about a lady whose baby was stolen, and she goes with this podcaster guy to like tell her story. But as she's telling her story, she realizes that there may be some things that she didn't remember, like memories start coming back, and you realize that she wasn't as reliable of a narrator as you thought she was, and there may be some other stuff going on with this, the fact that her son was abducted. I'm not sure I could get them in time. When you say nothing, but say everything. But we'll try.
Why is this not showing up?
Thank you for the discussion. Thank you, Courtney, for coming. I appreciate it. Yes, they are all like horror, thriller, suspense, and then The Kiss Curse has a little bit of romance in it. LOL. Softy enough the X-Hex. Honestly, I don't blame you. The X-Hex was extremely hyped last year, and after reading it, it wasn't like it was a bad book, but I don't understand what all the hype was about. Like, it wasn't all that. But I'm excited to read The Kiss Curse because Gwen, the girl's cousin in the X-Hex, she was my favorite character in that book. She was a side character, but she was my favorite character because she was hilarious. Everything that came out of that girl's mouth was funny. So the fact that she now has her own book, I'm very excited to read this. Hopefully it's just as funny. Like, hopefully she is just as funny in this book as she was in the first book. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. What's winning? Looks like All the Dangerous Things is winning. Okay.
I just found Mr. Magic. Okay. So, I had to find it because Goodreads is being difficult. Okay. Who is Mr. Magic? Former child stars reunite to uncover the tragedy that ended their show and discover the secret of its enigmatic host in this dark supernatural thriller from number one New York Times bestselling author of Hyde. 30 years after a tragic accident shut down production of the classic children's program Mr. Magic, the 5 surviving cast members have done their best to move on. But as generations of cultishly devoted fans still cling to the lessons they learned from the show, the cast known as the Circle of Friends have spent their lives searching for happiness they felt while they were on it. The friendships, the feeling of bond, and the protection of Mr. Magic. But with no surviving video of the show, no evidence of who directed or who produced it, and no recordings of who or what that beloved host actually was, memories are all the former Circle of Friends have. Then a twist of fate brings castmates back together at the remote desert filming compound that feels like it's been waiting for them all the time. Even though they haven't seen each other for years, they somehow understand one another better than anyone else has. And then after all, the only one's secret of the circle, the mystery of the magic man is in his indefinitely black cape, and maybe the answers to what's really happening on the deadly last day. But when a circle's friends reclaim parts of their past, they begin to wonder, are they here by choice, or have they all been lured into a trap?
The synopsis sounds very interesting. And because it's new, I haven't heard too many people talk about it.
I've read one of her books, and I will just do what you say about Mason Gothic.
Finally home, you guys are I told you we probably would still be on. We are voting on the book for this month. Yep. See that poll? Yes, we are voting on what we want to read for the month of October, which we will obviously have a discussion for in November. So if you have not voted, feel free to vote. I'm going to end it. I'll give it 2 more minutes. That way it'll be 10:30, and then we'll end it. And we will also be ending our discussion. So thank you guys for all of you who came and participated. Whether you lurked in the background and just listened in, which is what I tend to do a lot of times, or if you participated and joined in the conversation, either way, your presence is much appreciated. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Also subscribe to Paco if you have not joined over to his channel. He is linked down below in the description. Do you have anything coming up in the next couple of days, weeks?
So I have videos coming. There's a vlog coming Wednesday, and next Friday's video will be my book haul. And I think there's another video coming. I don't know.
Cool. Any events, any lives, sprints?
You all might hear from me less and less because work's gonna be kicking my ass. Okay, so I do have my readathon going on right now, though. I will say that. I do have the spectacular readathon. If you are part of my Discord, we are doing movie nights all month long. On Friday the 13th, we will be doing. Let me pull it up. I have the Death Becomes Her watch party. And then
I will be in Mystic Falls that day.
That better be a vlog.
Oh yeah, of course.
On Tuesday, October 17th, we are watching Scooby-Doo Witch's Ghost.
Wait, what day is this?
Tuesday the 17th.
Wait, are we? Can we watch also? What was the first one? Zombie Island.
I'm gonna try. And then I don't know when yet, but we will because I found out someone has not seen Halloween Town.
Yeah.
And I gotta make sure they do.
A couple people haven't seen it.
So we will be doing a Halloween Town. That'll probably be closer to Halloween watch party on my Discord. And then, of course, I have the bingo board is up. It is in my community post, and it's also on the Discord for you guys to see.
Nice. Awesome. Great. You were voted. Excellent. Got book 2 done for your bingo board. Look at that. Nice. Hi. How are you? Welcome. Thank you for joining. The discussion is over, but thank you for stopping by. We appreciate your presence. Yes.
You better vlog that. I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna
try. One of the tours that we're going on, it specifically says like you can't take video, you can only take pictures. But I'm like, how do you know what I'm doing with my phone? What if I just look like I'm taking a picture and actually I'm recording? But yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to record as much as possible. I am so excited. I've been planning this trip since like May. Literally, y'all know my whole existence is Degrassi and Vampire Diaries. So like this is a dream come true. I'm very excited. Paco, where are you watching that?
So,
it was on Discord?
Yeah, it's on my Discord. So the way you watch it is I'm going to be streaming it or do my best to stream it. Maybe I will have Princess stream it because her computer's better than my laptop that likes to disconnect. But all you have to do is just click on view what is streaming in the Discord.
Nice. Excellent. Yep, working on the bingo board. Nice. Yes, in Covington. It's technically called Covington, but I live and breathe by Vampire Diaries, so in my mind, it's Mystic Falls. You can't tell me anything different.
Vampire Diaries is the best. Right, your mama.
Need to find your Discord link. Oh yeah, can you put the link in here? Will it let you?
I can't, but you can.
Let me see.
Let me send it to you. Or just go to my Discord.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull
You should be able to say, invite.
Invite people. Send server link. Let's see if this works.
Because I think only the host can post stuff. Yep.
Yes, I'm very excited. Literally, you have no idea. Like, I'm getting me a blood bag. I told my friend, I was like, I'm going to cry. When I see the clock tower, I'm going to cry. Huh?
You just somehow like cosplay or whatever. Like
I was thinking about that, but there aren't any like iconic outfits that also fit my body type. Because if you remember, those girls were this big.
Skinny bitches. I maybe get like the necklace.
Oh yeah, I'm getting the Catherine, not the Catherine. The what is her name? Esther. Esther's necklace that she gave to Rebecca, that Rebecca gave to Stefan, that Stefan then gave to Elena.
Yeah.
I'm getting one of those, and I'm gonna put vervain in it. I asked my mom is like really into like teas and herbs and stuff. I was like, do you have any vervain? She's like, yeah, why do you need that? It's like, it's for the vampire. She's like, do you really think you're going to see vampires when you go? I was like, that's not the point. That's not the point. Don't ruin my aesthetic.
I'm so jealous. I love that show.
I'm so excited. Yes, this is the link for the Discord. Let me know if this doesn't work. But yeah, this should be the link to Paco's Discord if you guys want to join for the viewings. You are very welcome. Yeah, I'm probably going to cry when I see the clock tower. Literally, I'm just going to start bawling. I'm going to Mystic Falls. AKA Covington, I guess. if you want to go by what the map says. But yeah, I'm excited. Very excited. But yeah, it is past 10:30, so I'm going to end this poll. We're going to see what won. I think All the Dangerous Things won, which is fine, because that is also a new release this year that I've been wanting to read. So
we'll do the in like November, right? Like early November.
Yeah.
Okay,
so yeah, All the Dangerous Things, Stacey Willingham. That's what won. So that's what we will be reading for the month of October. I will still be reading the other books.
I will let you know as soon as I can find a date.
Okay.
Because work is fun. Work is fun.
I know. Work is literally the worst. But yeah, we will be reading All the Dangerous Things for the month of October. And then we'll obviously,
if you're joining because if you're going to be in my Discord, my book club is reading last Funeral Songs for Dying Girls. Nice. And that is in the Discord. You can see the talk date.
Join the Discord. Excellent. Yeah. So yeah, Paco's link is in the chat. The link for my book club is in the description, and the link for Paco's channel is also in the description. All of my socials are down there, so like Instagram, Discord, all that stuff is down there. And if you want to subscribe to Paco's channel, check out the description down below.
Do we got any awesome videos coming from you soon?
Yes. So I have some stuff that I need to edit, like the trip that I took to Mexico. I still have not.
Where'd you go in Mexico?
Huh?
Where did you go in Mexico?
Cancun.
Okay.
So I mainly filmed like a vlog of me like packing and like getting ready to go. And then it's probably going to be mostly like a montage of like once I got there, because I didn't do a bunch of check-ins because I was like, living my best life. So it's probably going to be a lot of like montage stuff or whatever, or voiceover work or whatever. And then also I have The Secret Project is finally coming out. That'll be coming out on the 14th. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Subscribe so you can get notified. I'm probably going to put it up as a premiere so that you guys can hit the notify button. And I'm going to put together a playlist for all the videos that are a part of the Secret Project. Secret Project is not just my video. It's not a bunch, but it's quite a few booktubers that are a part of this. So I will have that playlist in the description. Paco is one of the people that will be participating in this. So
I was trying to keep it quiet. I
mean, they'll see it soon enough, so you guys will see. I won't say who else is part of it, but Paco is one of them. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but yeah. He's one of them.
I was trying to be vague.
But yeah, that's what's coming up. Is eventually the Mexico vlog. You guys will see once I edit that, and then also The Secret Project.
Yeah, Princess, I did. I can keep a secret.
Oh, Princess, you're still here? I didn't know you were here. Get out. I wouldn't have said anything.
I assumed you did, though, Princess. I knew you did because you didn't say it, but you were. I pay attention.
Let me see. Oh my gosh, the comments are jumping. Club is doing. Oh, nice. I heard that's a good book. Did you read this yet, Paco?
Oh, it's so good. Also, another writer that can write anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've heard good
quote
things
from the book. It's not a spoiler for anything, but the quote that I'm like, this just shows how good a writer she is to me. It said, it was from the guy's point of view, said, her voice baptized him anew.
Love that. Love that. Well, hopefully, Rally, you enjoy it. I've heard really good things about it.
Princess is always just lurking in the corners.
Yeah, I didn't even know she was still here. I want to read Vampires of El Norte. I just don't know if I'll be able to fit it in for October, but it's definitely on my TBR.
It's not really scary like that.
I've heard good things.
It's more of a, like I would say, it's like gothic. It's a gothic Western. It's really good. It's not like super scary. It's more atmospheric. Nice. I don't do scary like that. I'm more of an atmospheric bitch.
Paco, your nails always look so nice.
I got them done because I can't do it myself. I would be
can't either.
all fucked up. Like,
I can. I just don't have time. It takes me like 4 hours for me to do my own nails, so I just get them done because it's faster.
Yeah, I got them done, and I did them these colors for the book signing I went to, which you get to see in the vlog. That'll be out Wednesday.
Very nice. Okay, so all of my libraries have the funeral. Nice. Excellent. Excellent. Alternate title for my book club is Apartment 5 is Alive. Ooh, that's a cool name.
Nice. Mine is Enchanted Forest Book Club.
Mine is the Soul Shelf Center Book Club.
Oh, I like that.
Can't wait to see if the secret project is what I predicted. What did you predict? I'm curious now. Because I remember you said something to me on a sprint. You were like, are you working on something? I was like, how did you know? Halisi's, where are you getting your info from? Who is the mole?
Who's a snitch? Who's a snitch?
We're gonna ignore this comment because I didn't know she was still here.
That's why I'm like, oh, we're just saying stuff.
You brought it up. I did, but I didn't know you were here. I have the Vampire Bel Norte. Better not get scared.
You won't.
We'll see. Well, I appreciate your support. Thank you, Princess. Mine is Rally Around Books. I like that.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute.
Yeah, I like that. That's cute.
I love
psychic like too. That. Yeah, apparently.
Princesses is royally booked.
Mm-hmm.
That's cute. That's a good one too.
Yep. All right. Well, that is the end. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you for joining us. If you came in late, feel free to watch the playback.
Mm-hmm. You can watch the sun go down in the window. So it was like when I started, the sun was up.
Yeah, it was already nighttime here. It was already 8 o'clock at night here, so the sun was already down here. But yeah, I did notice that it was daytime when we started. But yeah, thank you guys. Much appreciated for coming and stopping by, showing your support. Hit the like button, subscribe, follow our channels, follow our socials, join our book clubs, do all the stuff. And I will see you guys.
I don't know.
Huh?
I was like, sacrifice. I don't know.
I will see you guys somewhere around the BookTube universe. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Princess, you're what?
I need you what? I need you all to come together to keep everyone busy and distracted. Well, girl.
You're what? You're doing what? This is unheard of.
What did you say? I do. But yeah, that's it, guys. not Alici's. Bye, guys.
Bye.